Welcome to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. It's a spectacular and brilliant place to hold the fourth of the 5 rounds of the 2020 GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Series, and margins are going to be tiny between success and failure. The drivers are going to have to be at their very best on this wonderful old school circuit. Second race at Misano was led away by Johnny Adam, running a Pro-Am Aston Martin from pole position. Challenged down into the first corner by Patrick Kujala in the red and black Ferrari. Good start by Dries van Torp, getting busy behind. Very, very tricky the first 2 corners of the Italian circuit. Nip and tuck. Let's ride on board with Raffaele Marciello, and looking for space, and space very much at a premium through those first 2, 3, 4 twists, and a couple of cars getting pushed a little bit wide. But the first 3 were starting to make a break. It was Adam in the Aston Martin leading, Kujala hanging on but coming under increasing attacks, and the attacks further back. That was Konstantin Terashenko getting up a little too close and personal. And then Dries van Torp, brilliant dive up into turn 6, but ran a little bit deep, and the Ferrari of Patrick Kujala got itself back into second place. Then agony at the pit stop, a slow getaway, undoing a lot of the gains for the number 14 Lamborghini. It did get going again. In the charge up to the pit stops, Raffaele Marciello getting a little bit loose over the curbing there as he gave chase. No problems at all for Dries van Torp, handing over to Charles Weerts. That was just leaving the pits, followed by Timo Bogoslawski, who'd taken over number 88 ACA ASP Mercedes. And then a big, wide, dusty moment out of turn 11 for Frank Bird. He managed to get back onto the track, still in the lead of the silver class. Johnny Adam came in from the lead of the race to hand over to Alexander West. Don't forget, that's a Pro-Am entry. Now, how's this for battling? This is Frank Bird on the inside and Lucas Stoltz being pushed wide on the outside. He picked up a puncture. The stewards certainly took a look at that. Valentin Pierberg really pressing on in the Pro-Am class, giving chase. But out front, it was Charles Weerts completing the job for win number 3 for Weerts and Van Torp in only 6 races. And in behind, the Pro-Am battle was this tight on the final lap. Pierberg coming forward, catching right up with Alexander West, who turned out had a slow puncture. But at the line, what was the gap? 0.001 of a second between them. Pro-Am victory, but it was outright victory to Weerts and Van Torp. Dries van Torp and Charles Weerts arrive in Kent with their team WRT still fired up by winning at Le Mans, but they are way clear on points, and they could possibly even wrap it up here this weekend.
We don't have to take stupid risks, especially considering the fact that the weekend is so compact. So now it's going to be a matter of scoring points, and okay, if we can get a podium or even a win, that's for sure is going to be great. But this is not our main targets. We just want to at least keep the same gap or even increase our lead. And if this means being twice P5 or something like this, then we would not take any risk for that.
The lone McLaren entered at Brands Hatch is brought here by local team Jota Sport for a pair of British drivers, Oliver Wilkinson and Ben Barnicat, and they're really fired up by a strong run to 7th place in the Spa 24 Hours.
Really excited to be here. It's for a British driver to be racing at Brands Hatch is quite a big thing. I think we've shown some really good progress with Jota and McLaren throughout the season, especially coming off the back of Spa 24 where we finished 7th.
Raffaele Marciello comes here in 2nd place in the championship, and he knows, as does Timo Bogoslawski, they need almost a mishap from their rivals, Weerts and Van Torp.
We have to hope that Audi they have some kind of problem and they lose some points. Because we had that 0 in Zandvoort, and I think this one is quite big in the championship. So we have to do well, try to win the race, to score a lot of points, and we have to hope the Audi they have sort of any problem. I know it's bad to say, but it's the way it has to be.
Garage 59 has brought a pair of Aston Martin Vantages to Brands Hatch, and 4-time British GT champion Johnny Adam shares its Pro-Am Challenger with Alexander West, hoping to win by slightly more than the 1,000th of a second they managed at Misano.
Looking forward to this weekend, a home event for Aston Martin and Garage 59, and a circuit I know well. It's one of my firm favourites, is Brands Hatch GP, and we'll see. We've come off a great result with Misano and Sprint with Alex, and we want to carry that momentum into this weekend. So we've got one aim this weekend, and that's a few podiums.
Ricardo Feller and Alex Fontana have a really sizable lead in the Silver Cup category, and really just need to keep their nose clean, but actually they want victory outright in this race at Brands Hatch. That's the sort of thing that would float their boat, and for Lamborghini it's a case of rediscovering their form.
We are still pushing. This is a track which should fit our car quite well, so let's see. I think the decision will be made in Valencia, so I think it's important that we keep close, and then we will see.
British racer Frank Bird will be looking forward to competing on home ground at Brands Hatch in his second season since stepping up from single-seaters to GT3. And the 22-year-old shares his Team WRT Audi with Japanese racer Ryuichiro Tomita, who's having his first visit to the Kent circuit.
A little bit different for everyone coming to the UK to race. I haven't had a home race for 2 years, so yeah, really looking forward to this. And yeah, hopefully we have a good weekend. I think the Audi should suit this circuit well, so we'll see how the weekend goes. I couldn't be with a better team, to be honest. They've got so much experience everywhere. They always give us a perfect car for the weekend, so it's just down to the drivers to do a good job. And yeah, so looking forward to the weekend.
Last year, Chris Froggett scooped the Pro-Am honours with Eddie Cheever III. This year, he's racing with the experienced Italian racer Giorgio Roda in the Silver Cup class. And though he's a British racer extraordinarily, Chris Froggett has never competed at Brands Hatch before. He's got to learn, and fast.
In sprint, it's going to be tough for us to really have a really good result in terms of championship now. We're quite far behind with some unfortunate results before, so we're really looking forward, looking to have a podium, and that would be a great way to sort of celebrate a home race, and that's the ambition.
The team, CMR, is French, but the car, a Bentley Continental, is very British indeed, and it's always a crowd pleaser. This year, Ulysses de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean will be looking to equal or better their season best result of third place overall, and Ulysses knows the circuit very well from his days in F3.
There is quite a lot of fast corner, especially around the back on the GP track, and the Bentley is usually quite good on the fast corner, so I'm looking forward, and I hope we can achieve something good.
Points continue to be gathered for the Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS. 7 manufacturers fighting for global glory in the 3 championships around the planet. And it really is tightening up towards the end of the season. Let's take a look at the scores as they stand. And leading the way, but only by a very small margin, it's Mercedes ahead of Lamborghini, and in third place it's Audi Sport. But points changing with every single race. Let's see who wins. It's a warm Sunday morning at Brands Hatch, and the first of 2 races today for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. One this morning, one this afternoon, and the track, John Watson, is made for racing. It's made for tight action. Great to have fans coming in and occupying the grandstands and all the edges of the circuit, so it's got a special atmosphere this morning. Let's take a look at the order on the grid. Timo Bogoslawski, the 88 Mercedes on pole. Charles Weerts, the dominant championship leader in the number 32 Audi, will start on the uphill side. Ben Barnicoat took pole, but his McLaren will be starting third. Lucas Stoltz, good to see them back on form for Sport WRT, will be fourth. Ricardo Feller leading Silver Cup Challenger in 5th, and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, also a silver rank driver in his Bentley, on the outside of row 3. Row 4, Constantine Lapalainen, the second of the Emil Frey Racing Lamborghinis, and Patrick Kujala, who goes better and better in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. And then Ezekiel Perez-Compog, he of Mad Panda Motorsport in his Mercedes, alongside Finnish racer Juuso Pohakka in the second of the Top Sport WRT Mercedes. And what really always strikes me at Brands Hatch, they just seem to be even closer than ever together as they come round in their 2x2 formation. Of course, all eyes will be as they sweep onto the start-finish straight on the starting gantry. The formation lap is nearly over, and looks like Raffaele Marcello is going to get a good start from pole position. The lights go green, he's blasted, and it looks as though the Barnicoat McLaren will get into second place. Does so easily. Lucas Stoltz now up the inside of Charles Weerts. Charles Weerts sitting on a very large points lead. They want to consolidate, but he doesn't want to lose many more places. And Patrick Kujala trying to take a sweep around the outside, getting put on the grass, and wide. He went edge wide by Weerts up at Druids, very tight, but actually no contact.
Well, Ben Barnicoat's trying to squeeze through, get past the Mercedes, and he's had a couple of little bumps from the rear as the field is so compact as they come down now through Graham Hill Bend, beginning to finally string out a little the short straight that leads into Surtees. That's the late apex corner that leads then onto the quickest part of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, down Pilgrim's Drop.
You could hardly put a piece of paper between a lot of the cars. Some are 2x2 as they approach Pilgrim's Drop. Side by side they go, but up front we've got a challenge. Ben Barnicoat, A, past the Mercedes of Timo Bogoslawski, but B, around the outside into Hawthorns. That is 2 points on the charts. And Lucas Stoltz also trying, dearie me, up onto the curbing on the inside. But Bogoslawski puts Stoltz wide, giving a chance for those behind. But up front, thank you very much for Ben Barnicoat. He looks like he's going to escape now.
Yes, and again, but you can see what's happened, that the position that Lucas Stoltz had just gained has been lost once again to Timo Bogoslawski, who's been having to defend heavily from Ben Barnicoat. That one's lost. Barnicoat's up the road and gone, but Lucas Stoltz is still behind the 88 Mercedes, and he will want to execute a pass as quickly as possible to get clear. And of course, further back behind the Mercedes, we've got the 32 Audi, That was the car that was starting on the front of the grid with Charles Weerts behind the wheel. So still very, very tight. The Bentley running close behind the Audi into Paddock Hill Bend.
Well, that's an extraordinary escape. 2.3, nearly 2.4 seconds to good for Ben Barnicoat. He was very upset to lose pole position, but he's making amends now up the inside. Frank Bird showing that he really wants to get into the top 10. He started 12th and certainly making very good progress with Team WRT. He's up into about 8th place. Yes, it is 8th, and now he's gone past Buhaka. Chris Froggett pressing on in the middle of the pack to Sky Tempesta Racing, his first race despite being a British racer here at Brands Hatch. So it's super tight, apart from the gap between first and second, 2.8 to 2.4 seconds and stretching all the time.
But let's look and see, this is the opening lap, Bruce.
Well, absolute intent from Ben Barnicoat. Up Hawthorns Hill, he had more momentum coming out of Surtees, used the slipstream from Timo Bogoslawski around the outside. This is it from on board, looking back from Bogoslawski's number 88, ACA ASP Mercedes. I'm coming. Which side are you going? Around the outside, that's all I'm offering you. Oh, but your speed is so much in the McLaren that I can't even hold you back. And then suddenly, this is where Bogoslawski got a little bit rattled because he was slightly compromised into Hawthorns and then hit the curbs on the inside at Westfield, and Stoltz very nearly took second place. Just waiting to see what the gap is this time. Ben Barnicoat ahead of Bogoslawski. Will it be about 9 seconds? Just waiting to see. The race pace is still very strong at the front. It's 8.89 seconds, so getting close to 9 seconds. This is a fabulous run, a dream run for Barnicoat in the Jota McLaren.
It's actually the first time in this race that we've seen a car other than the lead McLaren have a lap that improves upon that of the 38 McLaren. So Thomas Bogoslawski, he's picking up the pace. At the same time, Ben Barnicoat's pace has just dropped away fractionally. He's just got under 9 seconds advantage. I'm sure we'd like to ride that out to a 10-second, because that gives the team then a lot more opportunity to pick and choose the point where they're going to come in.
Absolutely, it gives them the options, and options are great. Now the Silver Cup battle, it's between the 107 Bentley, Pierre-Alexandre Jean in 5th, and tucked in behind Ricardo Feller, just coming into shot, the Lamborghini with the white bonnet. The sister car, the 114, Consul Lapalainen, has got the blue bonnet just coming into the background of the shot. Patrick Kužela's looking a little bit frustrated, tucked in behind Ricardo Feller, expecting the Ferrari driver to take a look. He's been very strong in that car all season. And if you look a little bit further back down the field to 24th position, 24th through to 28th, the last 5 positions, all Pro-Am runners. Louis Michiels, the AF Corsa entry, car number 52, is just, he got the jump on the start of the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini, Miguel Ramos, so he's got it in front, but it's very, very close. No to tell, and a good run from Kevin C on his debut in the championship. He's got the Ram Racing Mercedes up to 3rd in class. Look at the speeds. Louis Michiels, fastest of all through the speed trap in his Ferrari. He's leading the Pro-Am class. He's down in 24th, but 141 kph. That's very impressive into Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, have we got a passing manoeuvre that's going to be completed? Yes, we have the 99 Audi in the hands. It's middle order. Just trying to see. That's Arkinaka. Alex Arkinaka makes the move on the Mercedes, on the Aston Martin, and gets the job done, passing Thomas Tuijala. And Ben Barnicoat continues to strip clear, 11.1 seconds to good. There is no challenge from behind. He can just keep on stretching his legs, and that's precisely what he's doing. So who's smashed the board on the outside of the circuit? I'm afraid there can be no denying that was unfortunate for Alex Arca. That's why he lost a position to Konstantin Terashenko in the 87 Mercedes. Said thank you very much.
So on to the quickest part of the racetrack, and again you can see the gap literally almost by the metre or the yard is extending in favour of the Bentley. Ricardo Feller sitting there watching the Bentley just steam away what was maybe a couple of car lengths, and the exit of Surtees ends up being about 3 or 4 or 5 car lengths. Again now under brakes into Westfield. Fella takes loads of inside curbing and some of the grass, but to no avail.
It's so frustrating, but again, look at the speeds. Again, it's the Pro-Am runners that are really featuring. Going into Hawthorns, 197 kph for Miguel Ramos, the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. So astonishing. Julian Potlos in the Porsche, second
down the inside this time.
Well, it was a better run last time. Last time he got the closest he'd been before. This time even closer. But look, the Bentley, well, it can't get its power down. He was pushed a little bit wide there. Great move by Feller, and he's going to hold it and gain that 5th place, gain the lead in the Silver Cup class. But if the Bentley goes wide, there's a challenge from behind for the Rinaldi Ferrari, getting very close. Looks inside, looks outside, and unfortunately for Patrick Kužela, the door is closed, but unfortunately it wasn't closed in time at Clearways.
No, and that was all because of a good run out of Sterling's for Ricardo Feller, and this time he decided, I'm going to make it, I'm going to be forceful, and there was a little bit of rub as they came down into Clearways, but it allowed the Lamborghini to get the inside going into Clearways, which forced the Bentley wide onto the slightly dirtier part of the corner, and therefore, as you said, couldn't get power down quite as quickly as would ordinarily do.
Now, the big question, running in Fourth place, Charles Weerts, no pressure from behind. He's got a gap of 4 seconds back to Ricardo Feller. It's not closing. They can pick and choose, John. They really can wait long, go early. They can have a look. But of course, Team WRT have 3 cars to service. And Charles Weerts looking cool, calm and collected there, just waiting for the instruction from the team. All you can do is keep pressing on, keep it clean, keep it tidy.
Whoa.
Tidy, don't I say?
Well, a little bit of oversteer there on the entry and a bit on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend for Charles Weerts. So he's, and again, I mean, the back end of the car looking very unstable. Now,
second, third and fourth, all coming in. Boguslawski, Stoltz and Weerts, absolutely right choice for Weerts as far as I'm concerned. The pit lane really pretty clear. That Bertolini Ferrari has pulled away from the garage area near the WRT area, so that should be fine for Charles Weerts to be able to hand over without too much pressure again to Dries van Tor.
So the 2 Mercedes we've got on picture, the Audi just pulling into its box now, and is that the Lamborghini that's followed in as well? So here we are. Get this change done. You've got enough time to make it. I mean, you've got to do the lap belts up. There's other radio connections if you may have a drinks bottle. They're rolling. The number 6 is rolling, as is the 88. So it's a status quo for those 2 Mercedes. The Audi's trying to squeeze in between the 88 and the number 6. Don't know. Yes, it managed it. So that was a little cheeky move. That's something that number 6 Mercedes will have been devastated. TalkSport WRT will feel that that was opportunistic, but that's what you have to do. So the Ferrari Patrick Kugel has decided to come in from provisional, 3rd place. So the lead is still Ben Barnicoat. Now the gap between first and second, still the Bentley in 2nd place. It was 27 seconds. It's now up to 30.2 seconds. So in that last lap, the McLaren pulled out a further 2 and a bit seconds. Okay, the Bentley was not running naturally in 2nd place. It's found itself there as a consequence of the pit stop window being open. So there is Ollie Wilkinson. So they're going to make a pit stop while they've still got the opportunity. We're only basically midway through, but the lead McLaren looks like it's going to make that pit stop. The pit lane is relatively empty, so Oliver Wilkinson walks back into the garage. We're still coming through into the end of the 2nd sector of the circuit.
But only now is, for the first time in the race, Ben Barnicoat has got traffic ahead of him. He's got one of the Sansalot Racing Audis, but I think maybe this time he will sweep into the pit lane. Maybe not, but he just hasn't had to be compromised by one single car in this race as yet.
And that, if they do choose to come in, would be just looking to see how they brought the car in.
No, it's still out on the circuit. And Pierre Alexander, it's in the pits. It's now to stand still. They're further up the pit lane.
So the reason they've done that are primarily because they were, as you pointed out, Bruce, they were catching up to the tail of the field, and the momentum that this car have been able to carry all the way through the opening laps would have been then affected. So bring Ben Barnicoat in, do the driver change, let Oliver Wilkinson get back into the car, and hopefully then when he returns to the field as the Bentley itself comes in, they will then end up in a situation not unlike the one that they were in the first part. So all ifs, ands or buts, it depends on the pit stop being efficient and get the car rolling. Come on, Ollie, get the thing rolling. What's the problem? There we are. Time lost. That was a little bit slower than it necessarily needed to be. The car was off the jacks. It should have been rolling a bit quicker.
But look, Raffaele Marcello in 2nd place is only just sweeping through clearways into Clark Curve, and already the McLaren released. Ollie Wilkinson also has pretty clear track ahead of him, but he hit the curb on the inside there, pushed it wide. Just got to keep it cool, calm and collected. Chris Froggett still hasn't pitted, nor has Norbert Siedler, but everyone else has had their visit. But let's hear from the driver who poured away from from the 2nd row, took the lead. It's Ben Barnicoat. He's been joined in the pits by Gemma Scott. Let's hear.
Ben, quite rightly, you got out of the car there, delighted with your stint. An incredible drive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was very frustrated not to be starting where we should have been on the front row, on the pole position, but, you know, it's what it is. I just dealt with it. And, yeah, had an amazing first lap, got into lead, and then just got my head down from there. So built up as big as I could. Now, this is the most hard part, watching Ollie try and bring it home.
Absolutely. Maybe we should fire you up a bit more often, eh?
Yeah, it seems to have worked, you know.
So this is a replay coming up, looking at the Team Allied Racing Porsche running well. The track turns right, and the driver did not at that particular point. So a rough moment there for the Team Allied Racing Porsche. It does rejoin eventually, but the gap is down to 1.2 seconds.
Yes, and I mean, really, it's academic. It's, what, 4 car lengths, 5 car lengths now. Momentum is still favouring the 88 Mercedes-Benz. Oliver Wilkins is looking forward. Who else have I got to then deal with? Am I going to get assistance or not?
Well, the next car he's got in front of him is Nikolai Kjærgaard. This is the 159 Garage 59 Aston Martin that had to serve a drive-through penalty. Would be higher up the order. and they will be caught soon. Fantastic battle from 6th place backwards. Ria Chiritomita, Rick Breukers, Fred Verviche, Oscar Tuncho, Ulysses Depot and Arthur Rougier. Very seldom a gap of more than a second between any of those, so they'll start to run nose to tail.
So what is Wilkinson able to do? Oh, look at the slide from Marcello as he came out of Graham Hill Bend. He was on the gas really early. The back end of the Mercedes swung out on a good old traditional four-wheel slide or drift. That doesn't do your rear tyres a whole load of good, but doesn't half look good on TV. Watch Marcello this time out of Sterling's. Looks like he's as close as he's been at any point, but being defended by Wilkinson now. The better entry into the corner will be for the Mercedes. Runs wide on the exit. Wilkinson has to go wide because he's a tight line. So this is the closest in reality, other than the one occasion into Surtees. Marcello close onto the back. Thinks about, will he make a move up the inside? Will he make a move up the outside? Didn't help himself by running wide on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend.
And the cavalry is coming to the assistance of Jota Sport, because look, the third place car, Dries Van Tor, is getting closer and closer. He's down to 1.5 seconds off the tail of the 88 Mercedes. Marcello, another chance, running very, very wide at Graham Hill Bend. Every little slip up lets the championship leader get on the tail, and that could buy a tiny bit of respite for the race leader, Ollie Wilkinson. And again, different lines through Surtees, John.
There's no way you can go around the outside at Surtees, but you can sort of get yourself lined up to get a good run off the corner, and that's what Marcello was trying to do. But again, straight line speed of the McLaren just about enough to keep the Mercedes at bay. And again, a different line through the corner, having now to think hard and what am I going to do? I'm trying to run my natural pace, and I'm still being run down by Marcello. And I still think the McLaren is a slightly more tricky car, particularly off Graham Hill corner. That's the one that seems to be it. Now they've caught up to these two Aston Martins and the Ferrari. Marcello's, this is what he was waiting for.
Well, absolutely so. We thought, how quickly would they pass the Aston Martins? They'd only been able to do so. They were backed up by Giorgio Roda, and this has suddenly provided a possibility for Raffaele Marcello. He looks, he's outside, he's in front of McLaren, but he's edged himself wide, and Dries Van Tor is about to pounce on him, trying to take the second place. He's got the better run out of Clark Curve, so a nightmare. Unfortunately, a move was attempted but not pulled off, but Marcello isn't going to back out. He holds on to second place. This is fantastic, John.
Yeah, I mean, he went a long way around the outside, but of course that's the dirtier part of the corner, and you could see how much of the momentum he lost in doing so. And Van Thor actually just about got alongside, but eventually the Mercedes was able to consolidate into Paddock Hill Bend, and they've still got the problem with these other cars, the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. So, what, 5 minutes remaining, and heart in mouth time for all three lead cars, let alone those that are lap down. So the battle going on, the Aston and the Ferrari, they're oblivious to what's going on behind.
Yeah, but what's actually happened right there, I'm sure Johnny Adam is professional enough to keep out of the way. There was a slight loss of momentum out of Surtees by the McLaren in the lead of this race. Ollie Wilkinson still there. He had a tiny bit of respite, but look, they're side by side, and the race leader needs to get through. He's being compromised, nearly hits the tail of Giorgio Roda's Ferrari, and Marcello is alongside, and Dries Van Tor's ready to pounce.
He's gone past. No, he hasn't.
No, McLaren still just about hanging on, breathe, and there's contact, and the McLaren is taken off, unfortunately clashing into Dingledale. Oh, that is disaster for Jota, and that means probably a red flag, one would presume, and that means somehow Marcello stays on the track, and Dries Van Tor is now up into second.
Full course yellow in 20 seconds, full course yellow in 20 seconds.
And for Jota, you really have to feel for them there. In fact, the first three were compromised enormously down there, and unjust returns for Ollie Wilkinson, who drove a supreme race under enormous pressure. He's out of the car, but there's lots of damage to the barriers down there.
And the car, of course, has gone over the barriers into the effectively what is a copse.
So the car's pulling slowly down the start-finish straight during this full course yellow, under 2 minutes remaining in the race, but unfortunately for Jota, their car very much out of the race, and real frustration. And for the WRT crew and ACA ASP, still looking at the screens, still waiting, but as it is, their car, the 88 Mercedes, Raffaele Marcello, second in the championship, is being followed around at a bated pace, the full course yellow pace, by Dries Van Tor, the championship leader. So for Dries Van Tor, John and Charles Weerts, they wanted to collect points. They will collect a very good haul of points if they hold on to this second place, and that's where they end up, and they don't get promoted to victory. No point getting ahead. They just needed to bank the points, and for the 88 crew, they needed to get as many as they could without the 32 scoring.
Well, we have to wait and see the outcome of this race, because there could be a change. Even though the Mercedes right now will take the checkered flag, there may be an investigation and to see whether there is any liability on the part of Raffaele Marcello for what ended up as being a very severe accident to the lead, the 38 Jota McLaren.
waved yellow flag on the start-finish line. We've reached the end of an hour, and the checkered flag comes out. So the order as they cross the line is 88 from 32. That's Raffaele Marciello from Dries van Thor. Third place to Mauro Engel in the number 6 Top Sport Mercedes. Fourth place will go to Alex Fontana, the 14 Lamborghini. That's the leading car in the Silver Cup class. Fifth place to Ryuichiro Tomita, sharing with Frank Bird. That's a good result for Frank on home ground. Sixth to Rick Breukers, the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes. And then 7th place to Fred Vervisch, the 26 Audi from Santalot Racing. 8th place to number 7 Mercedes of Oscar Tunjo. 9th place to Ulysses de Pau. That Bentley ran as high as 5th, but unfortunately slipped back to 9th. And Arthur Rougier in this weekend to stand in for the injured Jack Aitken, taking 10th place in the number 114 Lamborghini. The winning car in the Pro-Am class will be in 21st position overall, will be Enrique Chavez. So a good run for Barwell on home ground. Ahead of the 52 Mercedes from AF Corsa and the 188 Aston Martin that Johnny Adam shares with Alexander West. And there is the Pro-Am winner coming through, the all-Portuguese crew. So job done in race 1. Looking forward to see what they can achieve in the second race. And in fact, right at the end, the Bertolini car got a whole lot closer. So we feel these are probably provisional results. We think maybe some investigations. But Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marciello, ACA ASP number 88 Mercedes, victory, full course yellow conclusion after the incident on lap 38. And Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor, the championship leaders, crossing the line just 0.6 of a second behind. Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel, the Top Sport WRT Mercedes, in 3rd place overall. Then Ricardo Feller and Alex Fontana, good 4th place, but also taking the maximum haul in the Silver Cup. Frank Bird and Ryuichiro Tomita coming home in 5th in the 2nd WRT Audi. Now you go to the second page of results, and Barwell Motorsport, 21st position overall, but victory in the Pro-Am class for Miguel Ramos and fellow Portuguese racer Enrique Chavez, chased to the finish by Lou Machils and Andrea Bertolini, and Alexander West and British driver Johnny Adam, 3rd in the Pro-Am class on home ground for the Garage 159 Aston Martin crew. Well, let's take a look at the replay of the incident. You've got Giorgio Roda just in front of the first 3 cars. The Mercedes is on the outside, the McLaren's on the inside, and Dries van Thor in the Audi is gaining behind them. John, take it away.
Well, we don't actually see what happened. That's shocking to see a car hit a barrier and then deflect. Here we go. Now here you can see the Ferrari it was squeezed on the left-hand side. McLaren defending, Mercedes trying to find a way through. Now on board with Roda, he's got cars on the other side. There's the McLaren going around. Now we didn't see the car, the Ferrari. He looked for the situation. He almost himself had his own major accident.
Let's go down to the raced winners, Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marciello, who are down with Gemma and will tell all about how their race went.
Timo, Raffaele, a victory, albeit one that slightly difficult circumstances with the way the race finished. Timo, from your start of the race there, it was a very, very difficult race to keep pace, to get through traffic as well.
Yeah, I was also a bit nervous, so honestly, and also pressure was not there, so I have a lot of oversteer and understeer, so yeah, but McLaren completely crazy on the straight, so what power he have, it's not, I was able to do it anything, so he was make a better exit and overtake me, so, and also about the pace, I was pushing as much as possible, so, but he was there.
A good first stint from yourself, and then of course Raffaele taking over, really closing the gap on the McLaren. Finally found your way past, but very, very difficult towards the end there.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see the video again, but I mean, from my point of view, I mean, the track is quite narrow. The white Ferrari wanted to let me pass, I think, in the wrong moment when we were side by side with the McLaren. And then, yeah, I don't know, I got sandwiched between the two cars. I mean, I didn't want to push him out, of course. I'm not a dirty driver, I think. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate. I'm sorry for them. I mean, I didn't want to make contact, but the track is really narrow, and yeah, I mean, I know where to go, and then we'll see what's happening after.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as the strains of the Marseillaise, the French national anthem, ring out for ACA ASP. A French team run by Jérôme Policon on the top step. We have Raffaele Marciello and Timo Bogoslawski. And Timo very keen, clearly, to keep his suit nice and dry and not sprayed with champagne. And he nips off the podium very quickly indeed. Well, we've had drama aplenty in the first of the two races, Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Series here at Brands Hatch, and the car's already on the grid for race number 2. Another hour that, John Watson, I'm sure is going to be packed with drama. Maybe, hopefully, not quite as much as in race 1.
I'm afraid what occurred at the back end of that race was very concerning indeed, because a car getting over the barrier is not ideal. And of course, the potential of injury to Ola Wilkinson, fortunately not, but the car is severely damaged. It will not be taking part in the second of the two events here. The very sunny, hot-ish, what do you call it, bank holiday Sunday here at Brands Hatch.
It is, and it's great to have a huge number of people watching all around this circuit, but it's certainly looking as though the championship is heading towards Team WRT, or is it? But let's go down and hear from one of the two drivers of the car. He'll be taking the second leg. This is Charles Weerts, and he's with Gemma on the grid.
Charles, obviously things have changed somewhat in terms of results from race 1, so congratulations on your victory a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is not exactly the way we wanted to get the win, but I mean, at the end of the day, a win is a win, and it's great points for the championship, of course. And yeah, it's changed a bit the situation, and it definitely puts us in a more comfortable position for the championship and for the race.
Well, I was trying to do my maths a little bit earlier on, but haven't quite got there. So what does that mean for the championship? Where do you need to finish now to get the win today?
I think to make things easier, I think that in any case, if we finish on the podium, we should be mathematically out of reach for the next round in Valencia. But I mean, we will just go and give our best, and if we can achieve a podium, we will do. If we can have a win, we will do it. But we will, think about the championship after the race.
Yeah, that's a wise way to do it. But certainly pace-wise, things seem to have looked like you've gained a little bit more control in the car in terms of the speed.
Yeah, I think that we did a good job with the car during the weekend. We saw it quite far from the Mercedes, and we are getting closer. I don't think we are there yet, but yeah, for sure things are a bit better than it was before.
And you'll take the second stint?
Exactly, yeah, we'll drive the last half.
Okay, well, have a great race. Thank you very much. And just behind me, actually, I can see our pole sitters, Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello, who suffered the penalty a little bit earlier on. Let's come and have a quick word with the boys. Have you got masks you can pop on, lads? You've got a mask you can pop on? You don't have one. It's okay, we'll get one passed across to you. Timo's got one here. If we can have a quick chat with you, just to find out, you know, obviously starting on pole, the double pole is a great place to be in, but a little bit disappointing earlier on in race 1.
Yeah, what is the question?
It was disappointing for you in race 1, of course, but now looking forward to this race starting in pole position.
Yeah, we have to win.
A man of few words today, no worries. Thanks, Raffaele.
Well, drivers like to keep things simple. You can see Charles Weerts just not paying any attention to the championship battle, just focusing on the race ahead, and Raffaele Marciello with a 40-second penalty. He's really hampered his chances. And the penalty was 40 seconds applied to his finishing time, thus the victory handed over to the car that finished second, which was Charles Weerts and Dries Van Tor, and that gives them an enormous advantage in the championship. They came here with a 28.5-point lead, and by my maths, they're now, let's be brave, 43 points clear, because for Raffaele Marciello and Timo Boguslavski, that shoved them back down the order. So for Dries Van Tor, starting third today, we'll hand over to Charles Weerts if all goes well. That just helps compound their advantage in the championship.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a big advantage to WRT to gain those extra points, but they would like to win it on the track, not have it as the consequence of a penalty for an incident that occurred in a race. Nevertheless, they have a chance to try and score a victory. They're behind the two Mercedes. But as we saw in the first race, it's so close amongst all these cars. Finding a way around without making contact is probably the biggest skill you're going to need all day.
Absolutely so, and it does seem Mercedes have been very, very strong here. Two on the front row. Lucas Stoltz will be starting from the outside of the front row. Oh, Maro Engel will, but let's speak to Lucas Stoltz, the number 6 Mercedes.
Luca, first of all, it's great to see so many fans behind us, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Really good to have the fans back, especially the British fans are really enthusiastic, and it's really fun to also see them around the paddock. I signed a lot of autograph cards, so yeah, great to see them back.
Absolutely, and of course Mercedes here, Mercedes front row for this race. Mercedes have looked strong all weekend. It's a track that suits the car.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of high-speed corners. Suits our car really well. Yeah, Lello did a really nice qualifying, but Mara as well. But this track is really tough to overtake, so we're going to hope for a good start for us, and then we see where we end up.
Well, certainly it was very dramatic towards the end of the last race.
Yeah, definitely. We saw a big accident, so it's good that the drivers are right. But yeah, the McLaren had quite some damage, and I don't think they're on the grid. So shame for them, because they showed great pace. But yeah, nevertheless, it's still a race for us, and we try to push.
Thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thanks. Cheers.
So that's Lucas Stoltz, TalkSport WRT Mercedes outside the front row. Maro Engel will kick off in that. The 32 Audi, we heard from Charles Weerts. That's starting third with Dries Van Tor, who's just getting his kit on properly on the grid. And the outside of row 2, another Mercedes, and it's got Jules Gounon. You can be sure that he's going to try and pitch for a podium there, John. Starting fourth, but he quite fancies probably the outside sweep through Paddock Hill Bend on the opening lap of the race.
Yeah, I mean, the drivers that are on the inside going into Paddock Hill Bend normally have the advantage. Apart from anything else, although this is a rolling start, there's quite a lot of slope on the grid. So if you're on the left-hand side of the grid going into Paddock, you're marginally disadvantaged, and the perspective of it is, if you've got a car on the inside, you can't pick your line. You've got to sort of hang out on the outside and just hope you get through the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, where it will be a little bit dirtier than the racing line.
Now, we've got 3 Mercedes in the top 4 positions. In fact, we've got 5 in the top 5, because the leading Silver Cup challenger, Oscar Tunjo, is starting from 5th in the second of the TalkSport WRT cars. Another car placed very well on the grid, car number 14, Ricardo Feller. He's challenging in the Silver Cup class, and he's talking to Jamie.
Ricardo, Silver Cup has been very, very close throughout the whole season to now, and it's been a tough weekend so far.
Well, yes, definitely. Of course, was not. I mean, the race was good actually, but what happened after was not very ideal, of course, for the points. And also,
what did happen?
One of my mechanics lost the wheel while going back, and it bounced once on the floor. And then, yeah, congrats to him. He had so much power to grab it again. I mean, it's quite heavy, so he did good. But in the end, it's still a 30 seconds penalty, which is quite harsh for this, because yeah, we didn't gain anything. Even we lost time on the pit stop, and nothing happened. But that's part of the game, man.
Do you think you can gain some more points in this race?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, overtaking is very difficult, but I think Alex will do a good job at the start, and then we will see where we are.
Okay, well, have a great race. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.
So, just to reiterate, 30 seconds added. And that was the car that finished 4th and won the Silver Cup class. So the car that won the race has got a 40-second penalty. That's dropped Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marcello right down the order and handed almost the championship. Not yet, though, to the 32 Audi, but also the number 14 Lamborghini. But Ricardo Feller said it's hard to overtake here, but he was one of the few drivers we saw pull off a really, really good overtaking maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, he worked very hard to make that overtake, got it right coming out of Stirling's, and managed to get up and alongside into clearways, and then held that inside line all the way down and up into Paddock Hill Bend. And it's a bit like, you know, property. It's all about position, and he had that position and got the place.
Now, Jim Pla, he'll be running the Silver Cup class. That's the third of the Acura ASP Mercedes. He's starting from 7th on the grid, 2 rows ahead of one of the challengers who I really reckon may work his way forward in the Pro-Am class. The front car in Pro-Am is starting from 9th on the grid. That's Enrique Chavez, who's showing the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. There it is, car number 77. That's the leading car in Pro-Am. Immediately behind on the grid is a driver who knows Brands Hatch and loves Brands Hatch. Huge success here, also in the Pro-Am class. It's the Aston Martin number 188. Johnny Adam will be kicking off in that, and you can be sure he will be a flying Scot for the Aston Martin fans out in the grandstands. So the 1 minute board and now focus. We started the first race with 28 cars. You can see there's an odd number on the grid, 27 cars. So just to reiterate, the Jota Sport McLaren that looked as though it may just take its first win in the championship in the Sprint Cup this year is not playing, unfortunately going over the barriers. Too much damage done for them. Luckily, driver Ollie Wilkinson is fine, shaken no doubt, but he had driven really well under huge pressure from Raffaele Marcello. Big shame for the closest team to here, the local team, Jota Sport, not to be out in this second race.
Yes, very much so, and it was a very unpleasant incident because 3 cars were looking for the space of 1, and at the end of the day, it was adjudged that Raffaele Marcello was the more culpable, let's put it that way, of the 3 cars. The Ferrari was really just trying to get out of the way, but it maybe shouldn't have been there in the first place. And then the McLaren contact and the Mercedes contact. So Marcello's had to take the penalty. That's why he wasn't being more than monosyllabic when he was being asked by Gemma about his thoughts.
He's always very, very laid back, Raffaele Marcello, but what he isn't going to be now is laid back at the start of this race. For the second of the two races here, it's their car at the sharp end of the grid. The first race, it was Timo Bogoslawski on that pole position. This time it's Raffaele Marcello. All he can do is try and blast away at the start, drop those behind him. If he could do it in the manner that Ben Barnicoat did in the McLaren at the start of the first race, he got just clear at a second a lap. After 14 laps, he was 14 seconds clear. It'd be unlikely that Raffaele Marcello can do that, but it's a question of what happens with the cars behind.
Well, he who leads into Paddock Hill Bend fundamentally is going to lead the race comfortably.
Well, it's the best place to start. Looking at row 4, it's Jim Pla and Christopher Haase, Sansalot Racing Audi alongside the ACA ASP Mercedes. Leading Pro-Am runner Enrique Chavez alongside Chris Meese, who's brought into Team WRT this weekend in the number 30 car. Kelvin van der Linde couldn't be here. Johnny Adams is going to see how high he can go in the Pro-Am class. Don't forget, he started from pole in the second of the races at Misano last time out. Ulysses de Pauw has been very impressive here in one of the two CMR Bentleys, and Fred Vervies so much experience. Team Rinaldi Ferrari, we've seen it up and down the order. Benja Ites starting in 15th place. Dennis Marshall, the German racer, in one of the two Attempto Racing Audis. He's immediately above on the grid, the sister car of Matteo Drudi, but Andrea Bertolini going to see what points he can pick up in Pro-Am. Stefan Riquelme in the second of the CMR Bentleys, and Albert Costa. What is Albert doing down in 20th place? Expect progress for him for Emil Frey Racing. Dominic Bauman's going to see what he can do in Pro-Am starting 21st. Arthur Rougier on board this weekend in place of Jack Aitken, who's still recovering from his accident at Spa. Klaus Bachler in the one Porsche, and the race starts 23rd. Rick Breukers, expect progress from him in the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes. And then Adam Christodoulou, Ram Racing, joining the championship this weekend. Great to have him racing on home ground. And the second of the Garage 59, Aston Martins, is in the penultimate position. And Sky Tempesta Racing, Giorgio Roda, brings up the rear. His was the Ferrari that just found nowhere that it could go to when the first three cars came through as they dropped into Dingledale. So difficult trying to keep out of the way, but would have had an accident had he gone any further wide.
Anyway, he had that spin. Well, luckily he didn't get tagged himself. But just, Bruce, to keep an eye on some of the field. Speaking to Mark Lemmer of Barwell Motorsport, he advised us that actually they've been very frugal with their tyre allocation. They've got two brand new sets of tyres for this second of these 2 1-hour sprint races. And of course, they're one of their principal competitors directly behind Johnny Adam. I don't know if any other teams have managed to be so frugal, as I said, with their tyre allocation, but certainly keep an eye on that Barwell Motorsport Enrique Chavez back on the 5th row of the grid.
Well, it's a fantastic qualifying position, come what may, but you've just got to hope if you manage to eat that advantage, you get to use it. Well, let's see. So clearly starting on fresh rubber, but the second half of the race, they'll have fresh rubber for that as well. So round they come. Raffaele Marcello on the pit wall side, and on the other side, Mauro Engel. It's black Mercedes against white Mercedes as they blast off towards the first corner, and in third place, it's Dries van Tor. Looks tight, looks like grid order. Yeah, Gazou Gugnon on the high side. In fourth place is not gaining positions. He's got to tuck in to 1, 2, 3, fourth position. And we've got the spinner. It's the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari Benja, or is it the 52 car? Let's have a quick look. This is a double check. It's actually the Rinaldi Racing car number 33. So round it went on Benja Ites into the gravel, exiting Paddock Hill Bend.
So hopefully that car is going to come out of the gravel now. Dries van Tor trying to make a move up the inside, and Hugo Sabes, as I thought might have been doing a brilliant job, goes way riding over the curb and all over the grass and loses any gain. And what's going on up here side by side? The Porsche side slams Audi, and both cars got minor damage, but the Audi clearly was pushed off, maybe even in the gravel.
Well, as tidy as the first start was, the second one really was rather messy. The lead cars got through Paddock Hill Bend, and then there was that rotation for the 33 Ferrari. Disappointment for, we talked about the Barwell Lamborghini, that lost ground for Enrique Chavez, the grassy nose at Grand Hill Bend, and then Klaus Bachler getting it wrong, unfortunately, by the looks things, into Surtees, 2 cars running wide. No problems at all for Raffaele Marcello, though.
No, he's made his escape, and I would assume that Marcello will do what he does when he has the lead, and that is basically pull away relatively comfortably. But he's got Mauro Engel to basically shadow him at every footstep. So Mauro Engel, I don't know, so Lucas Stolz couldn't do an awful lot with the competition when he was in race 1. Down the inside comes the Lamborghini, absolutely committed, and contact, and spins around. Which of the Mercedes is that?
Well, that's the Ram Racing car. It's Adam Christodoulou, who was minding his own business to my line there. The Rinaldi Racing car did rejoin. That's good to see. That's at the back of the pack. But 4 incidents at 4 different corners on the opening lap. That is very, very unusual for these drivers.
Well, a very feisty start to race 2. Of course, the danger of doing it is you may have that contact, but you don't know what damage you will have done to your own car. You may have knocked another car off in the process. just down the hill and down to the Graham Hill Bend. Everybody now beginning to show a little bit more control.
Now the Clark Curve gravel is still occupied by the Ram Racing Mercedes. That could take a while. I'm just looking to see if there are any signals there might be a safety car coming out, because that's the corner. You've gone through clearways. You're really, really hard on it coming onto the start-finish straight, and that's beached in the gravel. Really unfortunate for Ram Racing. Fighting back, the Barwell Lamborghini taking a look. Enrique Chavez lost a few positions with the grassy moment at Graham Hill Bend. Now he's all over the tail of Ryoichiro Tomita, who's starting the number 31 Audi. Qualified that very well indeed for 6th place on the grid.
Will be waved yellow flags coming into clearways. We may end up having a full course yellow initially to get the Mercedes removed. It is sitting there beached in a rather vulnerable position. So no indication yet of any status change in green to full course yellow to safety car. But you need to be aware. Look how close the Mercedes is to the edge of the racetrack. Full course yellow now.
I think we're going full course yellow. There's a yellow
safety
bar
car,
under the line.
safety car.
No surprise at all. So 9/10 of a second, very closest to a full second advantage for Raffaele Marcello, but he's going to have to do it all again. But when you've got the train of cars being released when the safety car pulls off, of course the driver at the front of the train, John, has the advantage. They can pick the very moment that they want to go.
Yes, and Marcello is well practiced in that particular art, but Maro Engel will be on his toes and just waiting for any indication as when Marcello will go. Of course, nobody is allowed to overtake after a safety car intervention until they cross start-finish line, so it's rather frustrating on the one hand, but for others they'll think they will maybe have benefited in a small way. The one we need to keep an eye on is in 3rd place to see what Dries van Thor can do at that restart. Is he going to gain anything, or is he going to find himself pretty much status quo?
And what you can see in the background of the shot is the stranded Ram Racing Mercedes beached in the gravel.
Safety car procedure, because we are in the 3 first laps. We have a car in the gravel in T9. It will be a very short procedure.
A short procedure, they've got to pluck that car. There's a large sort of a recovery vehicle making its way down the side of the gravel, and hopefully we'll get the Mercedes removed shortly, but it'll not be in the next 10 seconds, that's for sure.
Now, one of the things, John, I had to do on the opening lap when we saw Benja Ites going sideways, I wasn't sure if it was his red Ferrari or if it was Bertolini. You know what? Investigation, there was contact between those two cars. So that's being checked out. Andrea Bertolini in the AF Corsa 488 GT3 running in the Pro-Am class. An unfortunate moment there for Benja Ites. He's running 26th and last. Obviously the car that is not last, but it's first out of the race, is stuck in the gravel. Adam Christodoulou was just so much looking forward to racing on his on a home circuit in the UK. Most of his racing is overseas these days, and he didn't get much of a run there.
No, and he was sort of elbowed off the track into the gravel. The gravel did its job perfectly. It arrested the car, but of course it's buried, and the vehicle has got 2 large metal forks, which I'm assuming they're going to place under the car, or maybe get a snatch rope to the car and then drag it back onto the racetrack, whichever way around. There's an Aston Martin, by the way, in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's the number 159 Aston Martin that was being started from towards the back of the pack. Nikolai Kjærgaard's penultimate position on the grid. The start was very tidy indeed. Raffaele Marcello inside, Engel on the outside in the white Mercedes. Clean start from 3rd place. In fact, very clean, the first dozen. Barwell Motorsport, Enrique Chavez gained a position very early on. Got past Oscar Tunjo to lead the Silver Cup class, but didn't get a great deal further without problem. Still looking from the front end. Marcello got the job done, did what he needed, John.
Yes, and he had the benefit of being on the inside of the track. But watch for the Ferrari contact. Somewhere in the middle of that field, there they are. And around it goes like Topsy into the gravel. You can see nothing with the...
Well, it was the AF Corsa one going up the inside with the white nose and the black nose of the car running in the Pro class for Benja Ites. The Chilean kept his foot in and has rejoined at the back of the pack. But obviously somewhere in all that grouping, there's a moment for the Barwell Lamborghini that took the Silver Cup class lead, and a big twitch, but Enrique Chavez didn't lift at all.
Likewise, Gugnon went very wide. That allowed the Audi to consolidate its 3rd position, but this was going on further down through the field.
Yeah,
and it was just a total different mindset from what we had seen earlier in the morning when this opening lap was a lot cleaner, and it's sort of stop-go with it. Ferrari manages to pick up a few spots, or a couple of spots up the hill into Paddock Hill Bend, but have to be very, very tentative because there are cars on the outside, so you can't run wide. You've got to be careful of those and there's others behind you who are looking to find a way through at the same time.
Yeah, I was looking at that moment. It was Klaus Bachler clattering the number 66 Audi that went off the circuit and rejoined it with Matthias Drudy. So expect Drudy to start picking his way up the field. Then you can see how the field really bunches. It's such a tight corner, Graham Hill Bend. Few cars running wide, and then the problem with the Porsche will happen just up ahead of this group of cars as they get, well, up the inside. You can see the brake lights on and shoving the 66 Audi wide and off the circuit at Surtees. But this wasn't the end of the problem on the opening lap. Giorgio Roda is taking a look at it from the tail of the grid. Now we're riding on board the number 32, the championship leading Dries van Tor Audi, and he did what he needed to do. He started third, he got into third position, wasn't challenged into that first corner. So a sigh of relief.
Yeah, while these replays are taking place, good news is that Adam Christodoulou's Mercedes has been recovered. I think it's been pulled back from the track. The safety vehicle is now going back behind the tyre bales at the entry into clearways, so we should be very shortly, once these replays are complete, to be back to live racing.
Well, they've done a very good job. In fact, the Ram Racing Mercedes has been delivered back to pit lane, is being pushed back into its pit garage, but Marcello had things under control. Now let's take a look, riding on the 188 Aston Martin. This was the one that had Johnny Adam at the wheel, running second in the Pro-Am class. A very good start from the Barwell Lamborghini just up ahead of him, but it wasn't all easy going for all the Lamborghinis, as we're about to see. Not on the run-up to Druids. That was all clean and tidy. Johnny Adam just using his experience, looking to the inside, looking to the outside. The last problem we had, the one that put the Ram Racing Mercedes into the gravel, I think was an assist, probably from the 114 Lamborghini. That's the one diving up the inside, and Adam Christodoulou tagged around, couldn't keep it on the black stuff. That's what brought out the safety car. We're about to go racing all over again. Back live, still behind the safety car. Expect the lights to be out, we hope, this lap.
Well, they barely had a lap.
No, they're still there. Just, if it could have been 30 seconds earlier, we may well have had the safety car pulling in. The number 8 Ram Racing Mercedes is in its pit garage, and the signal surely at the end of this lap will be the lights will go out on the safety car and we'll be able to go racing.
Well, we've had 9 minutes of this race, of which one lap has been a racing lap. So, again...
Safety car in this lap, safety car in this lap.
Over-enthusiastic driving in the midfield, and that's led to this 4-lap safety car deployment, but now the safety car will be coming in into this lap, so everybody will be picking up speed. But of course, as I mentioned, you can't overtake the car directly ahead of you until you cross start-finish line. And this car, this is 188, not 88, this is the Aston Martin. But for Raffaele Marcello, he will be now effectively the safety car is still out on the circuit. It's coming into Surtees, the light's still flashing, but it will be coming in, we've been advised, coming in this lap. So it's in the hands of Marcello. He can go whenever he wants, and I suspect when he gets to clearways he's going to nail it and try and make a charge to break away from Maro Engel in second place.
Track conditions seem absolutely fine. The only incident really was where any debris could have come on the track was where the Ram Racing Mercedes was pulled back onto the circuit. You can see where various cars have been through the gravel. Not in this race as yet, but that opening lap was notable for the fact at 4 corners there were incidents around the opening lap. But again, it shows the desperation. Brands Hatch, very easy to race close, but very hard to overtake. And a lot of the drivers thought the best time to do it is lap number 1. And quite a few of those moves didn't pull off. But I feel really, really sad for Ram Racing. Great to have them in the championship this weekend, and they didn't get to enjoy the second race. Light's still flashing.
It is. Now, I would have thought the light might have been out by this stage. Wait and see, kind of get has the light gone out? It has gone out now. So the Audi will pull off at the entry into pit lane, the safety car. And now the race is in the control of Raffaele Marcello. He's backing everybody up. Backing up, backing up, backing up. Keep it backed up. Then now nail it. There we go. He's off and running. But I think Maro Engel was wise to that, managed to more or less go at the same pace.
The one I want to look at, who almost made the best restart, is Jules Gounon in 4th place. Can he get close enough on the run past the pits to make a move on 3rd place? Dries van Tor. Oh, Van Tor very, very twitchy. He gets a little bit of retardation as they approach Paddock Hill Bend, but no puff of smoke. The first 10 cars have got through, but Raffaele Marcello in the lead from Maro Engel. Dries van Tor in 3rd, 4th place Jules Gounon. Then there's a little bit of a gap, and then there's Oscar Tunjo, who's leading the Silver Cup class in the car he shares with Yusup Pohaka. It's the second of the Top Sport WRT Mercedes. But look, just that tiny little gap between 4th and 5th.
Looks to me as if the Audi hasn't quite got tire temperature, because the car's not looking comfortable. As we watch the Barwell Motorsport benefiting on that set of fresh rubber, and certainly looks very, very feisty behind the wheel right now.
Well, really does. He has little moments, but able to build the momentum all over again to get one of the Santilot Racing Audis in behind him. That's very good news for him. He's got two cars, Christopher Haase and Christopher Mies, the two ultra-experienced Audi racers. Between him and the next car in the Pro-Am class, Johnny Adam in the number 188 Aston Martin, which is in 11th place overall. First four starting to stretch their way clear from Oscar Tunjo. But
Yes.
Oscar's in a different race. He's
Yeah,
in
it's
the
a different
Silver Cup
race,
class.
so they're racing for their own category. They don't have to race for overall, but 5th place is a very good run for Oscar Tunjo in the Silver Cup.
He's going to have to be on his toes, though, because he's got one of the stars of the Silver Cup class. He's got Jim Pla tucked in behind in his ACA ASP, the number 87 Mercedes. He's got Riachiro Tomita, who's lost one place, qualified 6th, is now down in 7th. But Enrique Chavez has just been mighty for Barwell Motorsport. But look, at the end of the first lap at full racing speed, the gap looks it's about getting close to a second. Let's have confirmation of that. 0.973 of a second. So another good restart, or another good start, and then a good restart.
A good restart,
Marcello.
and that was important. And also has managed to pull out 3/4 of a second over second place Maro Engel, and that's the direction of travel that Raffaele Marcello will be seeking. Let's look at the 188 Aston Martin. Johnny Adam in 11th place, Fred Babiche behind him, Alex Fontana in the 14 Lamborghini, and Dennis Marshall in the Audi rounding out the top 14.
Still cars kicking up the dust, and Christopher Mies right in front of Johnny Adam, filling the Scots face with earth and sand as he ran wide at Graham Hill Bend. First, well, what we're getting is they're splitting into 2x2 formation, because 5th and 6th, Oscar Tunjo and Jim Plant nose to tail, and then Riachiro Tomita's got Enrique Chavez, lead car in Pro-Am. There he is, car number 77, the Lamborghini from Barwell Motorsport, right on his tail. Then a tiny bit of a gap, and then Johnny Adams.
So pretty much now, as we saw in race 1, it's a matter of follow my leader and just hope that there is circumstance traffic, maybe an error, that will give you the opportunity to find a way past. And yet again, you're seeing that Chavez on the new set of ready tires.
Incidents between car 33 and 52 under investigation, and also the incident between 114 and 8 under investigation.
Okay, it's confirmation there. The Bertolini clash with Benja Ites that happened at Paddock Hill Bend, on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend on lap 1, under investigation. Likewise, the contact between the 114 Lamborghini, which was started by Artur Rougier trying to go up the inside of the Ram Racing number 8 Mercedes, put it off into the gravel. Both those incidents under investigation.
Yes, and particularly in the case of the Lamborghini, sorry, not the Lamborghini and the Mercedes, that is a loss of a race, because that car, Christodoulou, is now in the pit lane. It isn't going any further from what we can see.
Now the tail end of the grouping, two cars that actually clashed at the back of the pack there. The 66 Audi was the one that was shoved wide at Surtees. The car in front, the Klaus Bachler driven Porsche, was the one that did the pushing at this very point on the opening lap. This time around, though, it's much tidier. Oh, is that a replay of the first replay
That's
of
a
Enrique
replay.
Chavez running wide? No, I think it's
That's another
not.
replay.
Oh, I'm just waiting to see Chavez.
Well, there's the contact between the two.
Oh,
Audi,
it was
the
the
Porsche
replay.
and the Audi.
Yeah.
Just seeing it again.
I sort of wondered for a second, because Enrique Chavez has been looking very, very feisty on this restart. I thought he might have pushed too hard again through Graham Hill Bend, but that was on lap 1, just to reiterate.
So there is the sole Porsche in the race, and it's been getting its elbows out also. Down the hill you can see where there was damage to the barrier. The barrier had to be repaired a significantly length of time to get all that work carried out.
Right, here's a number to put in your mind. 1.225 seconds was the gap between Raffaele Marcello and Maro Engel, between first and second place. Two Mercedes, the 88 car still in front, but the gap definitely would have grown. Let's see what it is. 1.65. He's gaining 0.4, a third of a second each lap.
Yeah, and likewise, Jules Gugnon beginning to take a 10th here, a 10th there out of the third place Audi Dries van Thor. So clearly we've seen all weekend just how dominant the Mercedes AMG GT3 has been, and we're again seeing, I always assumed this was very much an Audi circuit, but it really clearly is transformed into a Mercedes circuit.
So let's just point out what's happening in class. It's the battle for Silver Cup honours in 5th and 6th places overall. The number 7 Mercedes from Top Sport WRT, Oscar Tunjo, the racer from Colombia, being chased very hard by the French star Jim Pla. 5th and 6th, and then not far behind them on the track is the lead car in the Pro-Am class in 8th place overall. So just two cars further back between this battle for Silver Cup between Tunjo and Pla. Then comes Riachiro Tomita, the yellow nose on his Audi, and then the Pro-Am class leader, lights ablaze, the 4th car in that run. It's the number 77 Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. He's got two Audis between where he is and the chasing Johnny Adam in the 188 Aston Martin from Garage 59, which is the second car in Pro-Am. Johnny looking to scoop as many points as he can for Alexander West, his teammate.
This battle between Tunio and Jim Plough is really just mirroring what we've seen, or we are seeing at the very front of the field between Marcello and Engel. The gap between Engel now is up to 1.6 seconds, so we're seeing Raffaele Marcello pull every lap. It's maybe 2 or 3 tenths a lap, but it's just all beginning. We're on lap 11. And we've got 43 minutes of this race remaining, so it'll be another 12 minutes and we'll be into pit stop window time.
Yeah, so the next closest thing to 2 seconds between race leader Raffaele Marcello and Mauro Engel. Dries van Toor, he likes having an undramatic race. He slots himself up into 3rd place, just as Charles Weerts did in the first race, and sits there.
Incident car 222 and 66 in turn 4 under investigation.
Well, no surprise with that one.
222 was the Klaus Bachler Porsche. We've just seen the replay, getting it wrong at that very point at the circuit. At Surtees, going up the inside of the number 66 Matteo Drudi driven Attempto Racing Audi, pushing it off the circuit. So stewards are going to have to be flicking their way through their notebook as they try and work all this out.
Well, what they also have, and we don't have the benefit of always, is on the replays they've got a variety of cameras, images that we don't get on our live feed. So they can look at it and then decide at a later point. Inevitably, it will always come once the race is finished. But that's the length of time it takes to go through these things in detail. In the meantime, we're still seeing Chavez chasing down. Is it Frank Bird in the...
It's Riachiuri to
yes.
He will hand over to Frank Bird, but certainly the pressure. Enrique Chavez is driving absolutely beautifully in this race, but you just pointed out to the start.
Now, but he's calmed down.
He's calmed down. Now he's got to make the most of the fresh rubber, and this is a car that has got 2 sets of fresh rubber for this race. Vast majority have only got to the 1 set that they could use.
Up the hill into Paddock Hill Bend, and everything is sort of status quo this lap. There's not really been any serious challenges to change of position. The gap up to 2.3 seconds between 1st and 2nd place. Dries van Toor dropping back a further 1.3 seconds behind Mauro Engel, but the gap that's really the crucial one will be Jules Gounon, now half a second behind 3rd place Dries van Toor. I don't think WRT are going to be overly exercised, because as the outcome of the first race, the penalty to the 88 Mercedes means they're not really in any threat or whatever. I mean, if the 88 wins this race and Dries van Toor finishes 4th, they'll still have an extremely healthy advantage.
Yeah, I mean the point swing for 2nd place, you get 12 points, victory you get 16.5, so you could say they gained 4.5, but it was also the removal of points from the 88 car, so it's been a big swing in their direction. If they get really pushed very hard by Jules Gounon, you know what, Dries van Toor will open the door and let him through.
I love watching the way Marcello exits Sheen Curve. He runs the white line and just kisses the grass, and he's probably the only driver who does it consistently. He leaves nothing whatsoever on the table in terms of extracting performance out of the 88 ASP Mercedes.
Well, you can see exactly the same at Clearway. He's right out to the edge of the circuit, just up, touch the white line and then swing in. But he was 2.3 seconds clear. What's the advantage now over Mauro Engel? Must be nearly 3 seconds, 2.8 seconds.
Drive-through penalty to car 114, causing a collision. Drive-through penalty car 114.
Arthur Rougier gets that penalty for the Emile Frey Racing Lamborghini. And not only they got the penalty from race 1 with the 30-second penalty for
car
a tyre.
52, 15 seconds hold at the pit stop for causing a collision.
Okay, just to reiterate, that was Arthur Rougier in the 114 Lamborghini. We saw him go up the inside of the Ram Racing Mercedes, pitch it off, and for Emile Frey Racing, that's the 2nd car they've had a penalty for, and then 15-second added to the time of the AF Corsa Ferrari, Andrea Bertolini, for tipping Ites into a spin.
But thankfully, I will say, the penalties are coming thick and fast, because you want those penalties to be paid out prior to your pit stop, ideally, but certainly before the race finishes, so you know exactly where you will stand.
Exactly, so what they can do, but nobody can do anything about Raffaele Marcello. He's stretching his lead. Oh, Rick Boykers has gained a handful of places. He started down in 24th, he's up to 20th, so the Dutchman, the Mad Panda Motorsport, he will press and press, but right now he's got Dominic Baumann in front of him. Dominic is just unflappable for SPS Automotive Performance. Dominic running at the moment in 4th place in Pro-Am, but that will become 3rd place when the 52 Ferrari has to serve an extra 15 seconds at the pit stop. So Andrea Bertolini, when he hands over to Louis Michiels, the car will go down to 4th place in class.
And there is Arthur Rougier, and he's coming in.
So that's the drive-through penalty about to be served, and that's going to drop him right down to the tail of the field, one presumes. So let's see, the Ferrari just coming through.
It's coming, the Lamborghini coming through.
Yeah.
And it's, there's only 3 and a bit minutes before the pit lane opens for the mandatory stops. So that's a harsh penalty. But he had to serve it basically before he got into the pit stop window.
Yeah, so Arthur Rougier now, stone last. Giorgio Roda was the last car in the line, the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari. He flashed through, you can see the white Ferrari going through. Meanwhile, at the front of the race, it's still Raffaele Marcello, but now he's 3.3 seconds to good. He gained half a second on Maro Engel last time. Maro isn't being pushed from behind. He's got nearly 2 seconds advantage over Dries Van Tor. It's just sheer pace from the 88 ACA ASP Mercedes at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just watch what Marcello's doing around the racetrack, and there's probably one of very few drivers who can use every little bit of the racetrack. The big battle really is going to be the one between 3rd and 4th place. Gap has actually extended fractionally now. It's up to 9/10 of a second, so Dries Van Tor can breathe that little bit more easily than he might have done a couple of 3 laps ago. But it's going to be, again, we get into the pit stop window, we'll see which of these leading teams can turn their car driver wheel change package around the best, and we know just how good all those leading teams are.
Okay, and let's just remember that Charles Weerts came in from 4th place, and when he handed the car to Dries Van Tor, Dries got in and gained a position over the number 6 Top Sport car in the pit stops by the smallest of margins. We've seen how hard it is to overtake on the track. You can run close, but getting past so tricky at Brands Hatch. It's so spectacular, but it is really hard to pass out on the circuit.
Yes, and I mean that was one of the key factors in how do you run your 1-hour sprint race at Brands Hatch, and most of the top teams will be focusing and making sure they do everything metronomically in that pit stop. And what happened to Emile Frey, a wheel bounced once and that's a penalty. Again, you might say, well, what difference does it make? It doesn't matter, it's a regulation, and the regulations have got to be fully enforced, and that was the case for Emile Frey Racing.
Yes, clearly if it's bounced and doesn't get caught, then it's a danger in the pit lane if it moves out in front of a car that's pulling away or pulling in. So nose-to-tail stuff around the middle order. Car number 30 being driven very hard by Christopher Mies. He's down in 10th place, all over the tail of Christopher Haase. And what they don't know about driving at great speed in Audi R8 LMS is not worth knowing. But they haven't got the measure of the car in front, which is the Pro-Am class leader, Enrique Chavez, who's probably enjoying life very much, almost as much as, well, in the Silver Cup class, it's suddenly looking very good for Oscar Tunjo.
So the gap between 1st and 2nd is now up to 4.5 seconds. So once again, we're seeing great style, great pace from Raffaele Marcello. Maro Engel, who is no slouch. So no slouch in the number 6 Mercedes, but just cannot quite, at the very end of the performance window, these Mercedes match the pace of Raffaele Marcello.
Okay, how fast into Paddock Hill Bend? Well, the fastest driver on the track is Raffaele Marcello, and he's a kilometre an hour faster than anybody else. 146 kph, so roughly 90 miles an hour into Paddock Hill Bend.
But notably, the second pace car isn't in that top 5.
No, that's interesting. Dries Van Tor, who's running 3rd in the Audi, all but matching the speed. In fact, they're appreciably ahead of the others. Jules Gounon 143. And look at the drop-off to Giorgio Roda, who's 4th quickest, Dennis Marshall. So what are the rest doing?
Yeah, but that's a car that is not a pro car. Giorgio Roda is 4th quickest into Paddock Hill Bend.
We saw
Excuse me, why is that car so quick in that part of the racetrack? But where does the rest of the lap time go?
Therein lies a question. Kicking up the dust, Raffaele Marcello just kicking not quite in the face of Maro Engel, because Maro's now 4.5 seconds down and starting to lose line of sight to the race leader. He's pressing on as hard as he can. He's got, what, 1.6 seconds advantage over the chasing Dries Van Tor. Dries doesn't have to push too hard. He can just bring it from 3rd place. Look at the gap from 4th place back to the Silver Cup leader in 5th. So it gives them so much scope for how and when they time their pit stops.
Pit stop window is now open by 10 seconds, so no, well, there is a Mercedes. Is that Maro Engel in? I think it is.
From 2nd.
So second place is taking the earliest opportunity. Maro Engel gets the car into the pit box. Lucas Scholz helps him exit the car. Some drivers, these are roughly the same size in terms of height and limb length, so they don't need any seat inserts. So very important to get that AMG Talk Sport Mercedes out the skirts, rolling, so that's a good stop.
Well, let's take a look. Maro Engel has brought the car in from 2nd, Jim Pla from 6th, Ria Chiritomita from 7th, Christopher Haase from 9th, I think it was. So the tail end of the top 10, with the exception of the number 6 Mercedes that came in from 2nd. He's back on the track. He's just in front of Arthur Rougier. The key Lamborghini, though, had served a drive-through penalty, but he's not going to be delayed by it.
No, but that's absolutely key for the number 6 Mercedes, that they didn't come out and get caught behind the Lamborghini, which would have wasted effectively the fresh rubber on the Mercedes. in a battle to get ahead of a very competitive car.
And that was good knowledge from TalkSport WRT, because of course the 114 Lamborghini was behind at the back of the pack because it had served its drive-through penalty. If that wasn't there was more scope, but they just did enough to get out in front. They're going through Surtees now and accelerating up to the crest, where they literally run around the back of Druids and now into Pilgrim's Drop. But the race leader, Raffaele Marcello, hasn't made a pit stop. He's gone past one more time, but he's coming up on the tail of the field. He's got the 159 Aston Martin up in front of him.
Dries Van Tor is in.
Okay, Dries Van Tor, the advantage of stopping penultimate garage in the pit lane. The last one was occupied by Jota Sport, but of course they're not here for the second part of the second race after their car damaged in race number 1. Charles Weerts, taller driver, hops in, folds himself into the... Enrique Chavez has gone for a bit of a bounce, and he's been pushing really hard. He's got Johnny Adam right with him, so that's the Pro-Am battle suddenly nose to tail.
Now, we didn't know what actually occurred as Charles Weerts gets rolling in the 32, so again another excellent stop by the WRT Audi team. You didn't see at the beginning. There it is, round the outside. That was the Ferrari returning to the circuit, and Chavez got completely wrong-footed by that, and he'll be not very happy indeed, thinking that the Ferrari maybe could have been more cooperative. Up the inside goes Charles Weerts. Is he going to make the move stick on the number 6 Mercedes? Wow, that's unexpected. Yeah, I would have thought that Lucas Stoltz might have been that little bit quicker, but Charles Weerts on it immediately on that fresh set of tyres on the 32 Audi.
It's small margins, but track position can just change everything, but just enough done by TalkSport WRT. It was an inspired choice to come in, but very nearly worked for Team WRT.
Yes,
doesn't matter though, they just want to get on the podium.
Their gain was marginally quicker in the pit stop overall, so that's why they're in a position to actually put real heat and pressure onto Lucas Stoltz. But now that Stoltz has consolidated the advantage over the Audi, it'll be interesting to see, can Charles Weerts do anything more? He did what he had to do in that one out lap, but again, the gap between the Mercedes and Audi has opened up to what, best part of half a second.
Well, Raffaele Marcello is a 1-2 for AKSP at the moment, because Jules Gugnon's continued from what was fourth place, is now third. It will tail out from one of the Aston Martins. That's the 159 car. That Surtees kept it going, but Raffaele Marcello just lapping really, really quickly at the front of the field. He's got to stay out for a little bit longer. And just to reiterate, when the 52 Ferrari comes in, the AF Corsa one, that has an extra 15 seconds at a standstill in its pit stop for that clash with Benjamin Hites on the first lap of the race. That's going to knock them back down the order.
At the moment, assuming that we're going to see Marcello stay behind the wheel of the 88 Mercedes until the last moment to give it over to Thomas Boguslavski and give him the biggest benefit, the biggest lead that he can possibly build up, and then hope that the pit stop for the 88 goes as seamlessly as we saw go in race 1.
Well, very nearly at the halfway mark in this race, very nearly the halfway mark in the 10-minute pit window. It opened after 25 minutes this race, and it closes. It will be slammed shut in the face of the drivers after 35 minutes duration. 188, Johnny Adam pressing on. He will stay out as late as he possibly can before coming in to hand over the 188 Aston Martin to Alexander West. And for the rest out there, Raffaele Marcello, his margin over Jules Gugnon, 8.8 seconds last time around. And just double checking, I think both going to continue for another lap. Chris Mies in third place. Everybody else has blinked, and in fact, what we've got in fourth place, Enrique Chavez just leading from Johnny Adam. They're fourth and fifth. They're leading the Pro-Am class, and in behind Andrea Bertolini, still to pit from sixth place, third in the Pro-Am class, but he's got the 15 extra seconds. That should promote, yes, Dominic Baumann, the number 20 SPS car, should go up to third place in Pro-Am.
I think Johnny Adam had maybe hoped that Chavez off at the edge of the paddock bend might have given him a slight advantage. You fill your tyres full of the sand and dust and rubble, and that means you're going to be slow through the next corner or two. As the race leader once again just picks his points. That's the car run right out to the very edge, just kicks up a little puff of dust on the exit of Sheen Curve. Watch again the exit. I mean, that's a little bit more than you'd maybe normally like to do. And ASP are waiting for, is this not the 88 to come in now? It is. No, it's not. I beg your pardon.
He's toying with it one more time. Now, just one thing I'm just starting to notice. Car running in third place, Chris Mies, the number 30 Audi, he's sharing this weekend with Benjamin Goethe. He's just put in his fastest first sector. Bear in mind, he was at the tail end of the top 10, but he was caught in traffic behind the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini that's running the lead of the Pro-Am class. Now he's got clear track, and now he's starting to show his pace.
And his last lap was his best lap. So now that he's got that little bit of freedom and clear air, he can get on and drive the Audi. I mean, one of the best Audi drivers we've seen over many, many seasons. as we go up the hill on board with Charles Weerts, and you can see the number 6 Mercedes is beginning to gradually disappear from the claws of Charles Weerts, and he's having to work a little bit harder than I thought he might need to.
Well, Lucas Stoltz is absolutely flying in the number 6 Mercedes, just put in his fastest first sector, the fastest second sector. No wonder he's dropping Charles Weerts. It might go out to 2 seconds, but bear in mind, Weerts just wants to get on or near the podium, because that will all but clinch the championship. We'll do the points as we run through this race. Still the dust being kicked up right in the face of the number 14 Audi. But first to second, it's now... Of course, Gunnar has just come in to serve his pit stop from second place, so Christopher Mies goes up into second. Raffaele Marcello, 21.5 seconds up the road, leading the race.
Ricardo Fella running in 17th place right now, and he's running right in the back of Aurelian Panis, down through Paddock Bend. Not anything given between either driver or either car. The fellow that little bit later apparently on the brakes, but then the Audis that little bit earlier on the throttle, and the gap then seesaws between where they were going into and coming out of it. But Feller is a good racer. I mean, we watched that in race 1 this morning, and again putting pressure on Panis and looking to fill his mirrors. Wow, had to swerve, had to pull away from the back of the Audi, otherwise he'd have been slamming into the rear. So he was late on the brakes, and Panis was maybe just braking normally.
It seems weird at this stage in the race. Still a couple of cars to serve, a handful of cars to serve their pit stops, mainly the Pro-Am runners, plus Marcello and Christopher Mies. But to find Ricardo Fella so quick in that Lamborghini, the number 14, down in 17th place. But don't forget, they had extra time added to their pit stop for this race. So really frustrating for them.
So 89, that was a car. So where is 89 is... Okay, Uberescu has taken over the wheel of the 89 Mercedes. So Gugno has bailed out, as we see, and followed by the Lamborghini. So Uberescu has got Rouget behind him, Martha Rouget, and then 114 Emile Frey Lamborghini up the hill. And I wonder who's the quicker of these two. I think at the minute it would have to be Rouget, I would have thought.
Barwell Motorsport came in from the lead of Pro-Am. Johnny Adam was right on the tail. He stayed out. The Scot was always going to stay out as long as he could. He's now at a second place overall in the race. Raffaele Marcello, though, nearly 30 seconds clear, 27.5 seconds clear of Johnny Adam. But the clock window is starting to be pushed towards closure, so you expect the 88 car and anybody else out there to come in at the end of this lap and serve their pit stops. And then we'll see, one presumes, Marcello come back out ahead, one would think, of Lucas Stoltz and Charles Weerts. That should be first, second and third. 88 from 6 and 32.
So there it is, and great job done by Marcello. He's built up a very comfortable lead. Ulrich now is relying on the team to do the wheel change and be careful that one of those wheels does not slip out of your hand, does not get loose in the pit lane, as there is what we think is going to be at the end of this. There will be eventually the leader, and it will be number 6 McLaren, number 6 Mercedes that will come through, and waiting to see it exiting out of clear ways. There it comes now.
And what you could just see behind the lighting gantry is the car in second place. There's Mauro Engel starting the race. It's now Lucas Stoltz, who's put in some very, very quick laps. He goes into second place. Very competitive time. Came out about, well, we'll see, it was about 8 seconds, I would suggest, ahead of the number 6 car. So Timo Bogoslai, he's got 25 minutes remaining in this race, and he's got to see if they can recover from the loss of their win in the first race to pick up maximum points. They are second in the championship, but that first race miss really cost them big time.
I mean, effectively it's cost them the championship, unless something totally unforeseen happens in the final round or so.
Well, I just need to actually point out, of course, after that first race, Ricardo Fella moved up to second in the championship because he got knocked back down the order as well. But anyhow, the points got jumbled. But what happened is the 32 car keeps on scoring and scoring good points. Promoted to victory in the first race, Charles Weerts, Dries Van Tor. Here's the Pro-Am battle, and it's the Aston Martin in front. It's but just leaving the door open and up the inside.
Yes, Alexander West has just come out of the pit, so the 77 Lamborghini, Miguel Ramos now behind the wheel, was up to speed, tires up to temperature, and it was pretty obvious that Alexander West was a sitting duck at the exit of Paddock Bend up the run up into Druids. So he will now settle in and wonder if he can make any response to the pace of the Lamborghini. One suspects that Torres is going to be, or sorry, Miguel Ramos, not Torres, Miguel Ramos is going to be the better of the two in this championship.
Right, just taking a little look in the Silver Cup class. Ramos, there we are, leading confirmation of the Portuguese race of Barwell Motorsport. The 77 Lamborghini leading Pro-Am, and he's now starting to pull clear of Alexander West. And the Silver Cup class, it looks so it's Yusuf Bohaka in the number 7 Top Sport WRT Mercedes ahead now of Frank Bird, who's running the Silver Cup class. No, he isn't. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Not Frank Bird. He's ahead of Frank Bird on the track. It's the 87 car, Konstantin Terashenko, who's running second in the Silver Cup class.
Yeah, that's the car he shared with Jim Pla, who did an excellent job on that opening stint. On board with Alexander West and the Aston Martin coming through Clark Curve. See how many kilometers per hour he gets in the climb up into 227.8, 232. Pretty quick, and then you've got to make your commitment to the apex, and then it just falls away from you as you drop down under the compression at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend.
So it's looking nice and tidy at the front of the field, but last time around, well, we'll wait for the first flying lap from Timo Bogoslawski. Alex West holding on to second place now, looking for the interval behind the 188 Aston Martin, second in Pro-Am. Next car in the line will be the car that it battled to the finish with in Misano last time out, when the gap between them for victory in Pro-Am between the 188 Aston Martin and the 20 SPS Automotive Performance Mercedes was 1/1000th of a second. This time around, Alex West is sitting on a larger lead, but he has 22 and a bit minutes remaining in this race, and I don't think he has any answers for the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini that's leading.
Concern, the race lead advantage has dropped from 4 seconds to 2.9. So either that was traffic for Thomas Bogoslawski or Timo Bogoslawski, or something, because Lukas Stolz has virtually taken a good second plus out of the advantage of the lead Mercedes.
Yeah, well, Lukas Stolz was more wound into his pace. He pitted, the car was pitted earlier. Maro Engel had it in, and Aston Martin's getting very close with the Porsche tucked into their tail. Two abreast doesn't always work. Flashing into the stadium section, and Alexander West being passed by the 159 sister car, Thomas Tuchel, who had a bit of a torrid time yesterday, into gravel several times in the 159 car. He goes past, but Alex West knows he's running in the Pro-Am class. Tuchel is not, so it doesn't matter too much that he's gone past.
Thomas Bogoslawski, Timo Bogoslawski, keep calling him Thomas. Timo Bogoslawski is 2.99 seconds ahead of second place, and that's the white Lukas Stolz Talk Sport Mercedes. When you see it coming into frame, that we mentioned may have been a traffic issue or just the opening lap for Bogoslawski, and Stolz being in the car that little bit earlier. They were, I think, one of the first, if not the first, to make their pit stop.
They were the first of the pit stoppers, came in from that second place. And just remember, after the first race, in the opening stint, that Timo Bogoslawski described himself as being nervous and maybe just not pitching the car out to the edge in the way he normally would. But right now, there's no question that Talk Sport, they've had a bit of a torrid season in the Sprint Cup. They want to come away with the victory. Lapping at almost identical pace is the car in third place. It's now in the hands of Charles Wirtz. This is the car that came here with a points lead, and its advantage has been stretched and stretched. May not take the title battle to the final round.
Well, they're in a very comfortable position. That third place is on challenge by the 89 Uberescu Mercedes-Benz. So all that Charles Wirtz really is focusing on is bringing the car home in third place. The pace of the two lead Mercedes is clearly just on today's performance just too much for Audi. They've just been outperformed by Mercedes at Brands Hatch. But whether Lukas Stolz can close down, he's taken 0.8 of a second out of the lead. You can see the gap's almost now probably under 2 seconds as they come into Westfield Bend.
Under 2 seconds, I think it's down to a single second, John, as they drop down into Dingledale, just about catching both. In fact, Charles Wirtz just set the fastest lap of car 32's race. That's running in third place, but he doesn't have to push too hard. He's 2 and a bit seconds down on Lukas Stolz, but he's 8 seconds up on the car in fourth place. He's got the third place in the bag.
And Lukas Stolz has also had fastest race lap to date, a very quick lap, 124.9. You know, in race conditions, anything under a 125 is an extremely good lap indeed. So Lukas Stolz, quickest man on the racetrack, was 2.1 seconds previous lap. Let's see what it is. Is waiting for to reset 1.036, virtually taking a second out of that last lap on race leader Timo Bogoslawski.
Okay, second in the bag, but what they have is clear track up ahead of them as they go around Druids. The car in front is only now turning towards Surtees, and it's the 52 Ferrari from Pro-Am class. Now, car 32, Dries van Tor started it from third. It's running third in the hands of Charles Wirtz, and it's the championship almost in the pocket. Let's hear from Dries van Tor with Gemma.
Dries nervously looking on here. This is a position where potentially you could take the championship today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just tried to survive my first stint, to be honest. Got a bit of a lunge in turn 3 of Jules. But luckily I could have cut back to him and we could have stayed P3. Charles doing a good job now. It's just about bringing it home, and yeah, I hope the car stays in one piece, and then it should be okay. But let's see.
Theoretically, any podium can give you the championship, and if the car 88 win, you need minimum 4th, right?
Yes. Okay. So I mean, at the moment it's looking very good for us. Of course, we just try to finish, and a podium is always nice to take with us. But yeah, keeping the fingers crossed, then we can take a championship already.
Thanks, Dries. Keep it in the rough.
So really cool, calm and collected there from Dries van Toorn. The glory for him, oh crikey, the lead may be about to change very soon, because certainly Lukas Stoltz now, he's 0.4 of a second down on Boguslavski. Where is this move going to come, John?
Well, we saw this in race 1 where the 88 car was leading the number 6. You catch. You've got yourself to the position where you think, well, I'm going to swoop and make a pass. But all of a sudden, it's the whole thing about losing. Your pace is now being dictated to by the 88. So Stoltz needs to make his move at the earliest opportunity. He gets a good run coming out of Surtees onto the straight. 2 cars identical, more straight line performance. Down the hill there you can see each of the last 3 laps, half a second, over a second, 3/4 of a second. So he's been taking lumps out of the advantage of the lead 88 Mercedes. But he's now going to be his pace dictated too by that of Boguslavski. And unless, again, we find traffic getting as a factor in where Boguslavski might be, kicks up a load of dust coming through Streen Curve. So he's clearly on his toes, doing all he can to defend the lead, a victory here this afternoon.
Right, the replay in some ways of the first race where it was the McLaren in the lead and being chased down by the 88 Mercedes. Now it's the 88 being chased by the number 6 car. But in both of these instances, the number 32 championship leading Audi is behind them and closing, but the relaxation in Dries van Toorn's face and voice when he was interviewed just then is the fact he's got a 10-second buffer to the best of the rest. He doesn't need to press on, he can just sit back and watch, but being competitive, being he is, Charles is going to try and get closer and closer, but he doesn't want to take any risk. Why throw away the opportunity to wrap up a 5-round series in round number 4? It shows their progress.
What Charles Weerts is doing is exactly what he's been required to do. He's got the car in position. He's on challenge because, as you point out, over 13 seconds now ahead of Petru Ibarescu and the number 89 Mercedes. The battle here, of course, is the battle that we were anticipating at some point. 16 minutes of the race remaining. I suspect it'll be a stout defence from Timur Boguslavski, rightly too, and it'll be an attack from Lukas Stoltz, as you would anticipate. He's closed down the advantage that 88 enjoyed. Sitting behind, riding shotgun, is Charles Weerts. He's just going to sit and watch if these two decide to get a little bit frisky and start getting elbow to elbow.
Yeah, he could easily come away with victory in this race if these two clash, but Boguslavski running his car right to the edge. Lukas Stoltz has a bit more speed, but he's got to find the pace. Their laps last time, 1 minute 26.2, 1 minute 26.1, but the fact of the matter, Charles Weerts behind without impediment, being impeded, gained a half a second, so he's closing in. He's just 2.5 seconds down on this lead battle, doesn't have to push, can just sit and watch it, but he's trying to get in close. Look, it is the Audi in 3rd place, car number 32, last year's Sprint Cup champions, and it looks as though, barring disaster, they'll grab this year's with 1 round still to run.
Yeah, and it's an easy ride for Charles Weerts. He's closing down on this battle for the lead. Oh, Boguslavski slightly wide on the entry into Druids, and that'll be unfortunately, Lukas Stoltz clumbered over the curbing on the inside of Druids, so maybe any small advantage that might have been offered to the number 6 Mercedes might have been lost, literally, by being a little bit aggressive on the inside of the curb. But again, closing as they come through Sterling's, but immediately the 88 on the throttle a bit earlier pulls away again. So this is the seesaw effect that you get between the lead car braking and the pursuing car still being on throttle, and then accelerating off the corner of the gap, opens back up again. There's traffic ahead, and that might be the very opportunity that Stoltz looks for to try and put a move onto the lead Mercedes.
The important thing for these first 2 cars, and possibly Charles Weerts in 3rd place, it's a single car running ahead of them. It's the 52 Ferrari, it's Louis Michiels at the wheel. I bet they'd wish it's Andrea Bertolini, more experience in the car, but Louis has been racing 488 GT3s for a long time, and if they can pick him off down the start-finish straight, that will be their advantage. They may be able to, all of them, pass him. He's getting very close as they come down into Clearways, into Clark Curve, up the rise. You can see the red Ferrari just sitting at the front of the queue. No, it's going to get into Paddock Hill Bend unimpeded by the chasers from behind, but they are going to pass him. It's a question of when and how and what interruptions, and Charlotte's getting closer and closer in the background of the shot. They're the first three.
Yeah, the skill of a good racing driver is knowing where to make your overtake. You don't try and do it necessarily at every opportunity. You want to use it at the opportunity that gives you the biggest advantage of the car that's pursuing, and you use the car you're overtaking then to impede the following car. So that's what I'm sure Timo Boguslawski might be thinking. If he's not thinking it, he needs to learn it.
Well, let's take a look. Lights are flashing, we're coming through. Now, look, Louis Michiels has done the right thing. He stayed over to the hard left of the circuit. Well done. Hasn't impeded the battle, hasn't cost anyone. May have to turn into Hawthorns at some point. Well, he will. But the third place car, Charles Wirtz, is through as well. So no disruption.
No, and that was good driving from Louis Michiels. He let this leading battle get through. And you seek that type of cooperation on a tight racetrack like Brands Hatch. And we didn't see that happening this morning, where we had the incident just as we've come through Dingledale into Sheen Curve. And that's the penalty of what took place this morning. And then you saw a perfect example of good motor racing ethics from Louis Michiels.
Yeah, the team would have been putting the message across. They've already picked up one penalty for clashing in the early part of the race with the other Ferrari. Not the other one, the other red one. We're seeing how that's got on ever since. The Rinaldi racing car down. Patrick Kuzler trying to make it fly, but he's down in 19th position, so big disappointment for them. But they were never in the top reckoning here this weekend at Brands Hatch. But first three cars, I reckon 2 seconds will cover all three of them, maybe slightly less. Up to Druids they go. Oh yeah, definitely less, about 1 1/4 seconds as they go round the hairpin, back down past the fans watching from either side of the track on the descent to Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, the quickest of the three cars clearly is Charles Wirtz. He's managed to close the gap to second place Lucas Stolz. But once again, he's going to be the victim of the pace that's being run by the lead Mercedes, and he's not really, in my thinking, going to make a move on the second place number 6 Mercedes unless it's an absolute sort of a given that there's going to be no contact, no sweat to get through. So Charles Wirtz is just going to ride and watch and wait and see if maybe there's a little bit of action with 12 minutes or so of this race to go. Can he benefit from a little bit of over-exuberance from the 2 leading Mercedes?
Well, the gap's come down enormously. Charles Wirtz was nearly 0.8 of a second on lap 29, lap 30, a third of a second, then half a second, a puff of dust as the number 6 Mercedes runs a little bit wide. Lucas Stolz again right on the tail of Timo Boguslawski, 1 second covering the lot of them. Again, they've got one car up ahead of them running on its own. It's Valentin Pierberg. He's just leaving Clark Curve as the field. First three come into clearways. They're going to pass him probably another lap or so. He's now turning into Paddock Hill Bend, but he's on his own. It's not a gaggle of cars. If they want a gaggle of cars, that's a little further around the lap. They may not catch them before the end of this race. They've just got one car to pass effectively.
So further down the field, battle going on with the 93 Tempesta Ferrari, and that's battling with Pierre-Alexandre Jean for 12th place in the Bentley. So watching and seeing just precisely what is going to take place. I think that actually the Ferrari might be a lap down. I'm looking to see where it is in the timing and scoring.
Well, they'll be about to put a lap on the Louis Michiels car. That's
it is a 24th. So the Ferrari is out of position here, so it's not actually in this race from what I can see. 93. Oh no, it's not. He's battling Pancic in the beg your pardon. Yes. I kept thinking of the other Bentley. So this is a battle for position in the Silver Cup?
Yeah, Chris Froggett, of course, Pro-Am champion last year, stepped up to the Silver Cup class and changed from one Italian co-driver, Eddie Cheever the third, to Giorgio Roda.
Oh, did he hit the back of the Bentley? Oh, yes, he did.
I'm here, trying to come through, but no chance to do it by going up the back of the Bentley into Clark Curve. Now under braking from Paddock Hill Bend. They've done it before. Nice and neat and tidy. The Aston Martin running around just in front. Alexander West trying to hang on. Of course, he's not interested in them. They might interrupt his run, though. Alex is running second in the Pro-Am class. It's still being led by the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini, but that's about a dozen seconds up the road ahead of the Swedish racer. But the Aston Martin turns into Graham Hill Bend. Neat, tidy, doesn't take too much curb on the exit. May actually be quite well placed just to let those duo behind him get through.
Well, Chris Froggett certainly was pushing very hard in the 93 Ferrari. And keen to get ahead of their Bentley. And as you say, Alexander West not directly involved in that battle, so as you point out, step aside and let these two battle themselves to the remaining 9 minutes of this race.
So first to second, Boguslawski looking on board at the moment from his car, looking backwards. It's almost so Lucas Stolz is attack has been blunted, but that's possibly because he's looking in his mirrors. He's got Charles Weerts in behind him, but Boguslavski, maybe he's weathered the storm.
Well, it's the same old story we've seen time in, time out. The pace that Boguslavski is running at is a very good pace. It's fractionally slower than that of the second place number 6 Mercedes, but that small fraction isn't giving Lukas Stolz any advantage whatsoever. And the 88 Mercedes is able to consolidate its lead without having to revert to weaving around or doing anything that might be considered to be a little bit unsporting. In the meantime, Charles Weerts has just run up to the back of the 2 lead Mercedes because he had clear air, but now he's into the disturbed air, the aerodynamic wash coming off the back of these cars. So his pace is now back to the pace of the 2 lead cars.
Yeah, he was doing high 1 minute 25s, now he's doing mid 1:26. He's like the first 2 cars, but with just 8 minutes left on the clock, Dries van Toor doesn't need to bite his fingernails down to the quick. They took the championship in the Sprint Cup last year, and they're looking dead set to do it this year with 1 round still to run. That's phenomenal in a 5-round championship, but they've been so excellent. For Team WRT, they went to Le Mans for the first time last weekend, and they won the LMP2 class at the first attempt. It's a team very, very much in the ascendancy. It's been so strong in the Blancpain GT Series, latterly now the GT World Challenge. And if they can put this one in the bag, they'll have had 2 cracking weekends in a row. Ifs and buts, but it very nearly doesn't even need a maybe.
No, they are an outstanding operation, and they've seen it time and again. And it's not simply on the racetrack, it's every element of putting a race team together. You cover every corner. There's no such thing as bad luck. You make your luck, you make sure that there isn't any area where bad luck or so-called bad luck can creep in.
Right, the next concern, the first 3 cars, they're going through Sheen Curve now towards Stirling. If you look up ahead, you should see the tail of a back marker. That is Valentin Pierberg, who's running 3rd in the Pro-Am class. He's actually catching quite some speed, almost 2 seconds a lap. Alexander West may hold on to 2nd in Pro-Am class. They've got to pick that car off, the black Mercedes. They need to pass it at the right place so it doesn't compromise Timo Boguslavski. Look, the clock's counted down below 7 minutes in this 1-hour race. Watching on, Jules Gounon, well, is he enjoying it? Is he not? His car is running in 4th place. Petro Borescu at the wheel, not being pushed too hard, but Yusuf Ohacker, actually, as I say that, has started to catch. But the first 3, nigh on nose to tail up at Druids.
Yeah, and it's been the same for the last 5 or so laps. So as long as Boguslavski doesn't blink or doesn't get caught out with getting through some of the tail enders, then it's his race to lose. Basically 6.5 minutes to go. So Lukas Stolz had a good run at him at early phase of Boguslavski's return to the track, but once he was able to consolidate that position, then Lukas Stolz has really been powerless to make any threatening overtake anywhere around the racetrack.
One of the remarkable things is the fact that the team in 2nd in the championship leading this race, Boguslavski and Marcello, have not won a round of the championship at all this year, whereas we've now got 4 wins in the bag for Charles Weerts and Dries van Toor. They took the first in the opening round at Magny-Cours, race number 1. They won both of them at Misano. They've won 5 of the 6 races after the past 3 visits to Misano. That's why they're in front. And of course, they moved up to victory in the first of the races here at Brands Hatch. Valentin Pierberg absolutely did the right thing, kept out of the way. He's kept his Pro-Am class Mercedes to the side. 1st and 2nd remain in that order. Maybe Charles Weerts hasn't got past, but he will in time. Certainly Pierberg, the gentleman that he is, he's indicating on the start-finish straight, you go past on that side, it's all right. Charles Weerts has worked that out. He's gone past on the pit wall side.
Yeah, he got sort of a little bit hung out to dry going into clearways, but was able to regroup very quickly, and Pierberg pulled over to the left and let the Audi get through. Again, good etiquette from Valentin Pierberg as the lead 3 cars make their way down from Druids into Graham Hill Bend and still battling for overall victory. It could be any one of these 3 cars could actually take the victory, but the reality is, as long as we don't see an unexpected incident from Timo Boguslavski, it's his race, and he'll have worked hard for this, and he knows that he's under pressure, but he's responded very well and kept his composure.
Absolutely so, and despite the four moments at 4 different corners on the opening lap, we've only had 1 faller. That was the unfortunate Adam Christodoulou. So we started with 27 cars, we still have 26, and now with just 4.5 minutes remaining on the clock, it's starting to look as though Timo Boguslavski maybe has things under control. Let's look at the battle for silver, and it's Yusuf Ohacker in 5th place overall, the top sport number 8 Mercedes. In the background It's Frank Bird, the British driver, on home ground for the first time in 2 years, and he's running second in class, 6th overall, and Konstantin Tereshchenko just under a second behind in 3rd place in class. If this closes up, if there is something interrupting their pace, which I'm not sure there will be between now and the end of the race, possibly there could be a twist in the tail. But for TalkSport WRT, Lucas Stoltz is running 2nd overall in the race, and it looks though Yusuf Pohaka is heading to victory in Silver Cup. This will be a race they'll be very, very pleased with here at Brands Hatch. But Frank Bird, maybe he's going to ask a few more questions of Pohaka. He was faster by 0.4 of a second last time around, but the clock is not his friend. Under 4 minutes remain in the race.
So let's look and see the times. Well, the gap between first and second, 0.3 of a second, 0.8 to third, and then Bird to Pohaka, well, at 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, and
so
Tereshchenko's catching the pair of them in the 87 Mercedes at the back of that pack. It's a bit like the 3-car battle in the lead of the race. It's Bogoslawski, the 88 Mercedes. There it is, going over the crest and now down into Pilgrim's Drop. Lucas Stoltz just 0.4 of a second down behind him, and then another 0.4, half a second or so back to Charles Weerts in 3rd place. Weerts doesn't need to take any risks. 3rd place, a podium will be enough. 4th place would have been enough, so he really doesn't have to fret. The title will be his, along with Dries van Tor, for the 2nd year running. 3 minutes remain at Brands Hatch.
And you know, if Bogoslawski goes on and takes the checkered flag, he might actually have a smile on his face. I haven't seen it very often, but he might have one.
Well, let's
Can
wait.
it be deserved, I can assure you.
Well, he'd have really earned it, because great pressure, because Lucas Stoltz took over from Mara Engel a couple of laps earlier, had the heat in the tyres, had his brain in the right place for it, and really was attacking, but just couldn't do quite enough to get ahead. And now it's settled down into this status quo, and certainly not looking as nervous anymore. Timo Bogoslawski driving very, very well in the lead of the race.
And essentially, you've not really seen him put a wheel wrong as he comes through Paddock Bend and drops down just 2 and a bit minutes of the race to go. And over the last 10 laps now, they've not really seen anything change between 1st to 3rd.
One more car to pass, I would think. It's the 188 Aston Martin. It's Alexander West, 2nd in the Pro-Am class. I'm sure Garage 59 will be saying, no one challenging you, because Valentin Pierlog is nearly 7 seconds down. Just let them through. Do not get taken out by the lead trio as they come through. So Timo Bogoslawski can look up at the 188 Aston Martin. Alexander West can see the flashing headlights. He's aware of the fact the blue flags will be waved at him as the Swede goes up towards Hawthorns. There are the waved blue flags. Faster cars coming through. Alexander West ought to have seen that. So is any of these cars going to find an advantage over the other? It's certainly lights getting RSI from flashing the lights so much. Our race leader, Timo Bogoslawski, Alexander West keeps out of the way, but bear in mind that was the moment where we had a back marker almost at the same point in the first race, John, that caused the incident.
I didn't want to look because I thought, oh no, here we go again. Same part of the racetrack, 4 hours earlier we had a massive accident. This time Alexander West keeps out of the way and lets these lead 3 cars get through. So again, good use of the mirror, good information coming from the pits as well to make him aware that these 3 lead cars are coming through. They're not in your battle, get out of the way, let them go.
Just to reiterate, I wasn't meaning the accident was caused by the Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari. It was the fact we had 4 cars with the first 3 coming through, all trying to fight for one piece of track. But onto the final lap we go. It looks though Timo Bogoslawski will get a win he can keep this time around. Of course, he and his teammate Raffaele Marcello won the first race, but they were given a 40-second time penalty for the clash with Ollie Wilkinson's Jota Sport McLaren at the very point we were just discussing at Dinglesdale, and the drop down from Westfield. And now, even though Lucas Stoltz has got a whole lot closer as they run over the curbing at Graham Hill Bend back onto the black stuff, who's going to get the power down better as they accelerate away from Surtees? Certainly it'll be watched by Charles Weerts. We're looking at him in his cockpit. Dries van Tor scratching his head, but I think he's starting to relax, because certainly there's going to be no challenge from behind. 13.5 second advantage, but we've got to change for the lead, because a poor exit from Surtees, so much momentum was lost that Timo Bogoslawski has backed out of it, and he's allowed Charles Weerts, not Charles, or Charles Weerts to go around the outside. Has there been contact? Is there a puncture? He certainly looked quite slow going into Surtees. Yes, he's got a puncture because he's weaving around, and the performance of that car is dropping off. So suddenly victory is going to go to Stoltz, and Bogoslawski is just not, and Yves Weerts doesn't dare look on, but now his son Charles is up into 2nd place overall, and Bogoslawski through the gravel on the exit of Stirling's. Will he even get to the line in 3rd place? So championship definitely now in the hands of Charles Weerts and the driver watching from the pit garage, Dries van Tor. But over the finish line, 0-0-1, a rotten run for TalkSport WRT comes to an end with victory, and that final lap so dramatic. 2nd place and the title to Charles Weerts. You can almost sense the smile and the relief on his eyes. And there's Dries van Tor, another title in the bag, 2 years running in the Sprint Cup.
Well, I'd love to know what happened to Bogoslawski. Was that there? I think it's a right front puncture. because the car went very, very wide. He's pulled in now. So there's bits of the rubber, look, rolling across the road. Is that a rim or is that a bit of rubber? I think it might be even the rim.
No, it's the rim, but one feels, so it's just come off.
Don't get out of your car. Stay in the car.
You can absolutely understand that. So, in fact, classified in 8th place overall because Yusuf Ohaka, who won the Silver Cup class, came through ahead of Frank Bird, who was 2nd in class. So they got through just ahead of the slowing, punctured Timo Bogoslawski. So big frustration for the Russian. A victory in the Pro-Am class looks as though it's going to go to the team that have had it in both hands since the start of this race. It's going to be 21st position overall. But victory in Pro-Am to the number 77 Barwell Motorsport crew. Enrique Chavez very, very busy in the start of the race, and Miguel Ramos bringing that home. So a great result for them on home ground for Mark Lemmer and the guys. And Alexander West took 2nd in class. But Pierre Dudonné congratulating his champion for the 2nd year running in the Sprint Cup, Dries Van Tor. More plaudits down at WRT. It's proving to be a very good August for them.
Absolutely, and I mean a great result for two of the protégés, you might say, in the WRT Audi team. Dries Van Tor, younger brother of Laurent Van Tor, and Charles Weerts, the son of one of the co-owners of WRT. So they've come along and they've worked together and they're formidable. I mean, it's the long and the short of it, really, with those two.
Yeah, absolutely so. And in fact, I don't think we're allowed to call him younger brother of Laurens Van Tor. Dries, 2 Sprint Cups in a row, is absolutely worth of mention in his own right. And he had some great speed at Le Mans as well. You can just see the pressure now. He's just sitting down going, phew.
Well, they've got one more event to go in this Sprint Championship, and they can do whatever they wish. They can cruise it or they can go out and blitz it.
Well, drama from start to finish, always close at Brands Hatch. Charles Weerts, hands up, waving to the marshals. But let's catch up with his co-champion, Dries Van Tor.
Dries, congratulations, you are a champion once again.
Yeah, starting to sink in. It's a bit, it's cool. I mean, I don't really know what to say. It's a bit emotional to be 2-time sprint champion running up. Together with Charles, I mean, he's such an amazing kid, and he has his pluses and minuses, but he does a hell of a good job. And the team is, honestly, I'm so happy to be part of this team and to be part of Audi, to be always giving us a good car to fight. And it's a big thanks to them as well, and yeah, to my parents and everybody who supported me.
Incredible teamwork from you guys and from the team. Go celebrate, go on, off you go.
Champion, 2nd year running. As you can say, it hurts when you finish 2nd in the championship, but 2 in a row, and relief all round at Team WRT. And you know, just in a field as tight as this, to come out on the top 2 years running is a phenomenal achievement. It's so much easier not to win a championship than it is to get it in the bag. But Charles Weerts popping his belts now, and he will climb up. And what a day they've had here. 3rd place became 2nd place, of course, with the puncture right at the end for the unfortunate Timo Bogoslawski. Would be interested to know if there was any contact. He ran a slightly strange line, and Lucas Stoltz wasn't going to be hanging back. There's Yves Weerts. 2 Weertses and a Van Tor. Very happy indeed down in the pit lane.
You know what? They make it appear, not literally, but you know, so easy. But that's the reason why they win, because they just do their job so well. Every element of the team, every part, from the preparation and the team themselves, they spend time in the gymnasium, they prepare, they practice their pit stops, they mitigate all the potential areas where there can be so-called bad luck interfering, so that there isn't bad luck. And it's very unusual, other than the odd occasion where there's a human error, and I can't remember the last time I saw one from the WRT team.
Well, we've heard from Dries Van Tor, and it's only fair to interview his co-champion, his teammate, his pal, Charles Weerts.
Charles, if we could just get you to pop the mask on. Congratulations, an absolutely outstanding drive from both of you, and great work from the team.
Well, that was quite an eventful, actually not for you, but for me it was a race. It was just about taking 0 risk and trying to secure the podium and maximum points, which we did. I don't know what happened to the 88 at the end. It's a bit of a shame for him because they had the race under control, but nevertheless we are P2, and mathematically we are out of reach. So
it's a great day for us, and I'm extremely happy. And I think it's a good occasion to thank everybody at WRT, my teammates, my father, and everybody that support us for this amazing season, which is not yet finished, but yeah, it's already done.
Well done, fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, a victory, well deserved, but slightly unexpected perhaps, with the 88 dropping away at the end.
Yeah, I mean, commiserations to those guys. I mean, we know exactly what it's like. We've had a tough year, quite a bit of bad luck our way, so obviously it feels good to have some good luck like this come our way, but yeah, tough break for these guys. I think they had it in the bag pretty much, but just super happy. Awesome drive by Luca, and great job by the team. Congrats to WRT, obviously they smashed it this year.
They did indeed smash it this year, but you guys certainly showed great performance today.
Yeah, finally a good weekend for us. That's what the team deserved, definitely, because they're pushing really hard. We try always. We went through some tough luck, as Mauro said already, but yeah, finally a good weekend, and yeah, congrats to WRT.
Well done, thank you very much.
Cheers.
So really tight at the end, but was there a collision between Lucas Stoltz, or was the punch already coming for, we saw suddenly the 88 Mercedes starting to slow, not on this lap, but running a little bit wide, but it was next time when they came on that run up Hawthorne Hill that the Mercedes pulled to one side. There was a better exit from Surtees from the chasing Lucas Stoltz, and I thought that was enough, but then clearly there was a problem, the reason why. But let's take a look at the results. They'll be coming up. And victory at last after a torrid season for TalkSport WRT, going to Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz, who pushed so hard in the second half of the race. And at the end, it was 1.9 seconds to good. Charles Weerts able to back off and celebrate not just second place, but more importantly, a second Sprint Cup championship in successive years, shared with Dries Van Tor, Jules Gounon and Petru Umberescu, getting at least one ACA ASP Mercedes into the top three, when the sister car, Timo Bogoslawski and Raffaele Marciello, their car ended up with a puncture, in fact with the wheel rim coming off, but finishing in 6th place. Winning car in the Silver Cup is started by Oscar Tunio, finished by Yusuf Pohaka, just ahead of Tomita and Frank Bird in their WRT Audi. So really tight top to bottom, but Barwell Motorsport, they enjoyed the Pro-Am honours. Great race for the pair of them. Enrique Chavez started off and bringing it home in 21st position, but winning the Pro-Am class, Miguel Ramos for Barwell Motorsport with their Lamborghini. Second in class went to Johnny Adam and Alexander West, and third in class to Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg. And only one non-finisher, and that was Kevin C and Adam Christodoulou. The Macanese, Kevin C didn't even get to start the race because he didn't get as far as the pit stops. Adam Christodoulou pushed off in the Ram Racing Mercedes at the end of the opening lap. So we've heard about the championship. We know who's won it now. It's Dries Van Tor and Charles Weerts, and they came here with a big points advantage, and they pushed really hard in both races. And there it is, 103.5 points, getting on for almost double the tally of Mauro Engel and Lucas Stoltz. No wins until today, but now the win this afternoon moves them up into second place. And for Raffaele Marciello and Timo Bogoslawski, first win taken away from them, and the second one, first place, became 6th place on the final lap. They're still in third, but they came here looking to try and topple Van Tor and Weerts, but they haven't managed to do so. But Van Tor and Weerts, what a year they've had in 2021 in the Sprint Cup. And it really was about delivering, John, race after race for Van Tor and Weerts.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a stellar season, whichever way you look at it. And of course, they are primarily the lead Audi team, albeit Attempter Racing and Santa Lock Racing are also right at the very edge of the Audi performance, but it's been the consistency of WRT that has seen them take this massive advantage. There's one more round to go and walk away the champions.
Now let's take a look. This is already having been off the circuit. You can see all the dirt in the front of the car, and then it was the right. Was it the front right or the?
It's the right front.
Right front that went down and then fell off the car. So now with just losing 5th place right at the end and pulling off literally moments after he passed the start-finish line.
All the grass in the front of the car was the result of going wide, coming through Stirling's. So that's where he did the best bit of grass cutting that's seen all weekend here at Brands Hatch. But whether that was a tyre deflating or whether it was something that happened to a wheel rim, I don't know. But it's very unusual to see a rim separate from a tyre. It's certainly worthy of further investigation.
So Team WRT out, picking up €2,000 on the podium, and no wonder the mechanics so delighted with that. And that was the pit stop challenge. It's not the first time WRT has won one of those, but great to see the applaud all around there.
Yes, that'll buy, no doubt, a small amount of quality Belgian beer if the team, that's their favourite particular tipple. As we see, the winning Mercedes number 6, and here are the winners.
So 3rd place, top 3, and right at the end there, right at the death, 89 coming through. So we've got, had it started from the front end of the grid, from 4th place, Petro Umberescu and Jules Gougnot. 4th became 3rd on that final lap. They'll take it, they'll take the podium. Dries van Toor and Charles Weert's 2nd place was enough for the title. They came here with a sizable points advantage. We're just looking to keep it ticking over, maybe win at the final round. They didn't quite dare to dream, but it's come their way. 2nd became 1st in the first race, and here 3rd became 2nd on the last lap of the 2nd race. That's enough for the title. But for Maro Engel, followed out by Lucas Stoltz, they've had a tricky year, but there's always been pace. But now they've joined the dots and they've taken their first win in 2021.
I mean, to some extent, it's been a disappointing year for that Stoltz-Engel lineup. They've never really quite nailed it, but here this afternoon they've got their reward.
So after the national anthem, the champagne, and the mechanic or a team represented very happy they've got a cap on, just keeping that out of the eyes. It really does sting. But a release after a weekend where overtaking was hard, racing was guaranteed. Had a few incidents, but you can now see as Dries van Toor hurls his cap down into the pit lane, knocking bottles, chinking bottles with Charles Weerts. Now at last they can have a bit of a glug.
Yes, and indeed there'll be a considerable celebration in the WRT pits this evening. And likewise in the TalkSport WRT Mercedes-Benz team getting that victory, which has been a hard-earned victory over a tough 4 rounds in the Sprint Cup.
And also for Razvan Umberescu, or Petro Umberescu as he's also called, taking a podium for ACA ASP. That's their best result of the season. They've had their best result until today was a 6, so a big step up for the crew in number 89 with that elevation right at the end. It was already their best result, but they built on that. But for WRT mechanics, you can almost sense the party is about to start. Pack up the cars first, guys. So nice applause coming across the pit lane from the grandstand as well. Good to have the fans back this weekend.
Indeed, very much so. But of course, you might say they're going to have a celebration, but remember they've got to get back to their base in Belgium because next weekend there's an endurance round at Nürburgring. So there's not a lot of time for the teams to get back, turn the cars around, get rested and focus on going to Nürburgring.
Yeah, of course, with the pandemic last year and this, the calendar keeps getting shunted a little bit backwards, and it does make a lot of pressure when you get to the autumn months and you've still got probably 2/3 of the championship to get through. But this hurdle has been cleared. I'm sure the fans around the circuit have enjoyed it. Good to see them here all day. Now we're looking at the Silver Cup class. 87 crew comes out to celebrate, and that is Konstantin Terashenko and Jim Pla. 3rd for ACA ASP, 2nd in class. It's Ryuichiro Tomita and Frank Bird, so he's delighted to get up on the podium on home ground. A rare occasion for Bird to race at home, but victory will go to a thoroughly deserving pair. You know what? The same team as the race winners for TalkSport WRT is Yusa Pohaka and Oscar Tunyo coming out. Oscar showing how proud he is to be a Colombian, bringing his own national flag out. So now we have the national anthem of Germany for the winning team, TalkSport WRT. It's very much been a Mercedes circuit this weekend. So champagne for the time for the Silver Cup runners, but great pleasure there for TalkSport WRT, and victory for them. So really it's been a good weekend. They win the race outright for TalkSport, also taking their first win in the Silver Cup class. So it's come up the right side for them at Brands Hatch. One more round for them to go. Maybe they'll add some more next time out. But for the three crews there, points in the bag, points in the pot for the championship, for the Silver Cup. They take their checks with them as well. Very welcome indeed. Checks, trophies, and slightly damp race suits. So it's been an action-packed meeting for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, the Sprint Series rounds here at Brands Hatch. Great to have the crowds back. Really, really enjoyable racing. But if your name is Dries van Tor or your name is Charles Weerts, together they've done it again. They were the champions in the Sprint Cup in 2020. They've done it again with the same team, Team WRT. And John Watson, did you enjoy the action today?
There certainly was a lot of great action. I mean, you always get that at Brands Hatch. But of course, because of the performance of these cars, the balance of performance draws them together, you end up with a rather sort of a chain of cars and nobody can make the pass. Nevertheless, great day's sport here.
And if you're running in the Prime class, I think there's going to be a big round of applause for the crew that's coming out to take the top step of the podium. Local team Barwell Motorsport. And let's hear the applause for car number 77, the Portuguese racers, Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez. And that is the end of our coverage from Brands Hatch. Thank you very much for joining us. So here we are on the top step of the podium, Barwell Motorsport, Enrique Chavez and Miguel Ramos. One started, one finished. Second place, Alexander West and Johnny Adam on home ground for the Aston Martin team, Garage 59. And third place to SMPS Automotive. That's Dominic Baumann and Valentin Pierberg, who took third place in class in the number 20 Mercedes. And now they too get the chance to spray the champagne up on the podium here at Brands Hatch. Happy parties all round. And for Barwell Motorsport, the fact they had two sets of fresh rubber really gave them the advantage. But Enrique Chavez drove really strongly in the first part of the race to set up the advantage that was carried through to the finish. So that's the last of the podiums. You can already hear the cars going out onto the grid for the next race. It's Brands Hatch, it's busy, and already the cars are out there. So that's it from the GT World Challenge here at Brands Hatch. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.